Got quiet. I guess it's time to start the meeting. Isn't it? Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our September. There she is. Welcome to our September regular scheduled council meeting. Welcome people in the audience and people watching at home. In the audience, if you have your cell phones, if you put them on silent or turn them off, we'd appreciate it. So I'd like to call the meeting to order. We'd like to start with an invocation, and then we'll take a pause. And Troop 230, Boy Scout Troop 230, is here to do a color guard for us prior to the Pledge of Allegiance. So we look forward to that. So with that, Leanne, would you care to do the invocation?
Sure.
Okay.
Let's pray. Dear Father, we just praise your holy name, and we thank you for all you've given us, and we thank you for the town of Carolina Beach and its citizens and all the people who come here. We just pray that the decisions that are made here tonight will be according to your will. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
And with that, we'd ask Troop 230 to present colors.
Color guard advance. Post colors. Follow me in a pledge. Scout salute. I pledge of allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
color guard retreat.
Thank you very much. Thank you for taking your time to come out here tonight and do that for us. We appreciate it. First item on the agenda is to adopt the agenda, and prior to doing that, we've got two changes. Item 3D, the Daniel Fettner Memorial Ride is being removed from the agenda. And item 6B, accessory building discussion will be tabled until the September 26th workshop. So with those two changes, make a motion to adopt the agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
First item on the agenda is the employee recognition. Chief Alan Griffin.
Mayor, Council, we actually have two recognitions tonight. One of them was unable to come due to, we were on last month's agenda and we had a fire right before the council meeting, so where they were both set, and tonight's his son's birthday, so I told him it's probably more important to do that tonight. But so recently we had some promotions within the fire department. The first one was Simon Sanders. He got promoted from shift lieutenant to shift captain, so he's now in charge of his shift. With that, it created an opening as a lieutenant position, which is an assistant shift supervisor who fills in when the captain's off. Nate Mark, you'll come up. Nate got promoted from our driver operator to lieutenant, so he's now assigned to a regular shift full-time as a assistant shift supervisor lieutenant rank. So.
Welcome, Nate. Congratulations. Thank you, Chief. Chief Chris Spivey.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is a 5-year recognition for Detective Sonny Russell. Now, the 5 on this piece of paper isn't just as simple as just 5 years. Sonny started back in 1995. And he was my he was my third or fourth sergeant, and taught me a lot about being a police officer. Even though he's a few years younger than me, just a great teacher, an asset to our department. You'll find nobody who shines a beam of light in dark times like Sonny Russell. He is the epitome of the guy that always sees the glass half full. He's not only become a really good officer, he's become a good friend. And there's lots of times that our department just couldn't make it without him. So to really 20 plus years, welcome me and giving Sonny his credit due.
Thank you, Sonny. Thank you, Chief. Next is Gil Du Bois or Michael Kramer, one of the two.
Not quite. Gil is under the weather tonight, so he asked if I would stand in and read a statement about our next recipient. Bill Raymond, could you come up to the podium, please? On July 21st, 1997, Bill Raymond was hired as our wastewater treatment operator at the Carolina Beach Wastewater Treatment Facility. Due to his talents, Bill was promoted and is now the superintendent and ORC of that facility. Bill has taken every opportunity possible to enhance his education, which has not only benefited him, but has truly benefited the town. He has continued to gain valuable experience in the operations and management of the wastewater treatment plant and has sought to provide educational opportunities to his staff. Bill strives to teach his staff ways to gain more experience on a daily basis and has developed a great relationship and earned the respect of our state and federal regulators. He has been directly involved in the budget, planning, development, construction, and numerous upgrades to the wastewater treatment plant over the years. For those of you who have had the pleasure to meet Bill, you'll know that he would make a great Boy Scout. Bill is honest, trustworthy, loyal, and timely. Never have I had to wait for him coming to a meeting. He cares for his employees in the town and has been a true leader and an outstanding mentor to a host of people over the years. Bill is definitely a remarkable employee and has earned the respect of his staff, other employees, and our leadership. We are extremely proud to award Bill his certificate for 20 years of dedicated professional service to the town of Carolina Beach. Please join us in a round of applause for Bill and his accomplishment.
And I can tell you, from the private sector perspective, I deal with Bill occasionally on certain projects, and always very professional, very willing to try and work through the issues and find a win-win situation for everybody. And we appreciate that, Bill. Thank you. Thank you, Bill. Next item on the agenda is a presentation from Garrett Adams, president of Carolina Beach Jeep Club.
How's everybody doing this evening? Sorry,
evening.
I'm a little nervous, never done anything like this before. So I don't really want to take too much away from everybody, but we're a Jeep Club, we're local. We try to be involved in the community. We try to get involved with volunteer stuff. But really our reason for being here is we wanted to make a presentation, a donation to the town. So I have one of my longest tenured members, Jamie Godwin, who's going to kind of talk about it a little bit, and also Kat, who is the owner of Mad Cat's Bar and Lounge there in Monkey Junction, who we kind of partnered with. So I'm going to kind of turn it over to them and let them tell a little bit about it, and then we'll make the donation.
Great.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Carolina Beach Jeeps is a group of people that are like family with the common bond that we all own Jeeps. We try to give back to the community we live, work, and play in. We do several events year-round, such as beach cleanups, Back the Blue rides for our fallen officers and their families, flag placements for our fallen veterans. Now we've teamed with Kat and her husband John with Mad Cat's Lounge in Monkey Junction, who give a portion of their profit every Monday night to the renourishment of Freeman Park. Freeman Park is our home. Any given weekend you can find us camping, cooking out, fishing, or just spending time with our families. And Kat and John actually matched our donation, so I'm going to turn it over to Kat now.
Hi, I'm Kat. I don't talk to in front of people, so excuse me. I own Mad Cat's Bar and Lounge. Mad Cat's Bar and Lounge is not a typical bar. It's a fun, friendly environment to be in. I love Freeman's Park. I have a Jeep. That's why I joined the Jeep Club, so I would love to see it to be being taken care of. That's why I'm donating $1,000 today.
Well, thank you very much to both the Jeep Club and to you, Kat, and your husband. And I mean, you're not, I assume you don't live on the island, but you care about the Freeman Park, and you know, that's great. We appreciate that. So, you know, we hope to see you more in the future. Is there anything we can do for you guys?
No, I mean, I think probably our biggest concern, you know, and I want to thank Ed Parvin for kind of helping us get through this to get out here this evening. But you know, we'd like to make this kind of routine. You know, the monetary amount will probably change, but we'd like to maybe do this, you know, depending on how Mad Cat's is, but maybe a monthly or something like that. Try to make a contribution. But our biggest concern is that Freeman Park is, you know, it gets torn up a lot by vehicles that probably don't belong out there, you know, and sometimes maybe we need to get a little bit more strict with the vehicles that are out there and the people that are trying to get on to enjoy it. There's just too many vehicles that get stuck and tear it up, and you know, doing things out there that are not helpful to our beaches. But I mean, we love it here, and we just want to, you know, enjoy as long as we can and take care of it and do our part. So that's it.
Well, we appreciate you being part of the solution, and you know, we might have some openings on the Freeman Park Committee if any of you guys want to get involved there. But let us know if we can do anything, or staff can do anything for you in the future if you have an event or something that you need help with.
Thank you.
Thank
so
you very
much.
much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Debbie's she's our treasurer. Chief Financial Officer, actually. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thanks.
Yeah.
You want to go down and get a picture with
Oh, yeah, yeah. You guys okay with me coming down and getting a picture with you?
Sure, absolutely.
Good idea. Good job, George.
Give him the check back there, Deb. Yeah, give him the check back.
You can hold up a check down.
Oh, there, get the check for you. We're gonna have a little-
It's not often we get
we're gonna
citizens
have a
coming
little bit
forward.
I know.
cardboard.
Yeah, we need to do
You need to document this.
Thank you very much.
Okay, next item on the agenda is request for CB State Park Marathon, Half Marathon. What is it?
That's Port City. Rib.
Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped one.
Colin's here.
Yep,
You
sorry
got
about
it.
that.
Colin's here.
False alarm.
Colin's here. They're both here.
How you folks doing tonight?
Good.
Yes, sir. Did you have, you were here.
I was here
last
a month ago, yes.
Right.
As a way of introduction,
Okay.
Mr. McDavid had been here previously at the previous council meeting, introducing the idea of having a Rib Fest down by the boardwalk in November. And council had requested that staff get with him and talk through some of the particulars of the event. We did that in a couple of different sessions, and the information that you have in your packet is updated and current. The location, as you can tell on the on page 12, is right down with the gazebo, and it has both private property and public property involved in it. There will be fencing around the property to designate where the alcohol is served. Also, to regulate traffic flow, we will have some cones, barrels, and other items there to stop traffic on Canal when the event is going on. It will be a 3-day event. Staff has worked through all of the particular items that council was interested in. We've made sure that we leave open the easements or the access to the boardwalk from Cape Fear. We've attempted to do our best to keep the porta potties and other things that are in the area in the center of the property and away from other businesses. And there will be a main stage there on the gazebo. And if you'd like, Mr. David can fill you in further on what types of events and things will be going on with the Rib Fest.
Okay, and before we do that, if you don't mind, we had a little dialogue email, and you clarified some of the applicants' information. And just so some of the public's looking at this and it may not have changed, the public egress, the main walkway to the boardwalk where it shows movable bike racks and those white blocks, those don't exist. That's unfettered. That's free access, never blocked, never.
That's correct.
Okay. And the Canal Drive,
Canal Drive will be
Will
open
open in the
during
mornings and
during the daytime up to the point where they start having their event in the afternoon and the
Right.
evenings.
okay. Those were the two biggest issues.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, for you guys that don't know what a Rib Fest is, it's pretty self-explanatory. Except we bring at least half of the guys who are going to be participating. Some people call them pit masters. We call them ribbers. They are on a circuit that is mostly in Canada and in the Midwest, but we do have 2 of them here. I produce both of them. I've been doing one in Winston-Salem for 13 years, and one here, which will be the 5th. And as I said last time, it has been my not just goal, but just I gotta have it. If I'm going to do an event here and call it Port City, maybe we should change it to Pleasure Island, but that's something that had to be done in the future. It needs to be on the water. I mean, we had it the first year at the Battleship. We had the first 2 years at the Battleship, last 2 years at what will eventually be North Waterfront Park in downtown Wilmington. And quite frankly, I'm tired of traveling, and I want to have it. I want to have it in a community like Carolina Beach that I think would actually embrace it more than a larger town like Wilmington. So I'm excited. Hopefully, bring it down here, and I think we have some great barbecue. We have some great music. I used to do things like sideshows and stuff, but that was a little weird for some people. But it's really about music and food and having a good time and relaxing, and that's what we look forward to bring it down here to the beach.
Any questions?
Just a
Council?
question, were you able to find any local vendors? I see you still have 3 spots open.
Oh, I haven't put any of them up yet. Yeah, I do have. I've got 2 local vendors right now. I'm just waiting till I get all my 7. Got 7 spots because they need a certain amount of room. I'm waiting to get all 7 spots filled, and then I'll announce it.
Okay.
But we've got at least 2. I'm hoping to get 3.
So, Michael, all the other issues, police officers, all those kind of things have all been resolved, right?
Yes, sir, they have. One of the other items that was of interest to council is typically our events here are done on public property and they are nonprofit related. They are a nonprofit organization that presents the event to the public. In this case, it's a for-profit activity using public property, but Mr. McDavid had kindly suggested that he could donate some of the proceeds to our local help center or the food bank for this, and so that was one of the other arrangements that we had talked through since the last time that council met. So
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to
No,
cut you.
go right
Yeah,
ahead.
I wanted to wait till after this meeting to present Ms. Taylor over at the Federal Point Help Center with my ideas. And to help us from a standpoint of promoting that in the media, WCT has already agreed to join with us in terms of, in addition to what I'm going to be doing as far as advertising the event, they're going to be promoting, you know, the nonprofits that we have involved with it, which I plan on it being Federal Point Help Center and also the Eastern North Carolina Food Bank. So I have no problem sharing that strategy with you guys once she's okay with it. So
sounds wonderful.
Great. Well, that's real important to us, you know, that, like the manager said, that every event that's come here has really been a nonprofit event that has contributed to their nonprofit, and also, you know, the arrangements we've always made with them is that in lieu of using some of our public property and things of that nature, that they contribute to one of our local nonprofits that would directly impact and benefit the lives of our locals. So that's important.
I mean,
to
I
us.
don't promote it that, I mean, you know, just, you know, too much, but every event I've ever done has had a nonprofit associated with it. The ones here up until this year have been the CARE project, which is for kids that are having serious seeing problems. So I just don't necessarily put it out there like that.
I just point that out to you because it's different for us.
I understand.
It's the first time we've ever done a for-profit event in these circumstances, so it's the first time.
Yeah, there's
right
not many
now.
people that, you know, put on events for a living.
Right.
I'm one of the few.
Michael, the only other question I had is, what are we doing to be proactive to notify the adjacent businesses a week or two beforehand, just to remind them that this
Well-
event's coming? So it's just, I mean,
In most towns, that's a requisite, and I would do that anyway. So I will be in touch with them, you know, at least 2 weeks out, maybe 3.
And of course, I've already had some dialogue with some of them, because I'm the first one generally that hears from them when
And
something's advertised. So.
I'm sure you'll do it, and I'm sure they've talked to the mayor. I'm
Well,
asking the manager to make
yeah.
sure that the town checks.
It's
a
always
list.
good to be a good neighbor, you know?
That's right.
And-
Could we get this map updated with regard to removing that movable bike rack stuff, and then we could make that part of what we drop off to the businesses?
Most definitely, most
Okay.
definitely. And our thought on that is that the town has the addresses and information for all the property owners and the businesses around the surrounding area, and we would get that to Alan so that he'd be able to go and send out the letter with the presentation material and so forth to
Okay.
educate the public.
And Mike pointed out to me that where I have the band load in is actually private property, that road. So I'm gonna change the map to be able to accommodate load in up there where you see those porta-johns. They're probably twice as big as they really are on that map, so I'm gonna
Well,
do some modifications.
your bands are going to be at the gazebo, right?
They are.
Well, there's a little drop-off space there in the front where they can actually pull up and unload and then reposition their vehicles.
Well, they come in and out during the course of the event, so I don't want to jeopardize anybody's safety if we have to bring them through that parking lot. We'll be okay. We'll have like a golf cart.
half of that street belongs to the property that the event is on, correct?
Yes, it does.
So
Oh,
half
okay.
of that right-of-way, or old right-of-way, belongs to that
Okay, all right.
property.
Any
Any
other
questions?
No, no.
What do you need from us, Michael?
Just approval to move forward with this first-time event.
Make a motion to move forward with this first-time event.
Yep.
Motion on the floor, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Take good care of our area out there, and hopefully we'll be an
Absolutely.
annual thing.
I plan on doing it many years, so I hope, I plan on doing it. And I hope you guys come out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, now the next item on the event, on the agenda is the Carolina Beach State Park Marathon, Half Marathon. Apologize for that.
That's fine. Members of council, Mr. Mayor, thank you for your time. My name is Colin Hackman. I am the president of Go Time Race Management. We service and facilitate races for nonprofit organizations here in southeastern North Carolina. We're based in Monkey Junction. I assume you guys all have this map in your packet. We're seeking approval tonight to utilize the Carolina Beach Trail Greenway from the end of Bridge Barrier Road behind the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers installation to the end of the public access at the federal wildlife boat ramp. I have discussed, we have permits in place from all of the entities involved in this except for Carolina Beach, including the state park, Mr. Helms, the Tucker Brothers property just off of Dow Road, as well as I have made a meeting to talk to Mr. Medic with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, who are planning to do construction during the time period in which we are asking for your approval. We would like to utilize the portion from Snow's Cut there, which is a gravel road, back behind up to where the Porta-John sits now at the end of the Carolina Beach Trail Greenway. I'm meeting with him tomorrow to devise whether or not that'll be available on the 30th of December, which is our event date. Our secondary plan is to utilize the road on Bridge Barrier South back around to the front of Carolina Beach State Park. It's a trail race, so it has zero impact on roads. We want to use trail systems and existing walkways, paths. We don't need any police. We don't need any barricades. We don't need any porta-johns. We don't need anything except permission just to utilize the gravel portion. State Park will fully contain the rest of the race, the parking, the event, bathrooms, etc. So with your approval, we would proceed to...
So it starts where?
Start and finish is in front of the visitor center on campus there at the state park. So we come out on the red trail,
Right.
and then we do an out and back on the Carolina Beach Trail Greenway. If that is not going to be able to be used, we will turn right and head south on the walk path that's next to Old Dow Road, and move down toward the entrance to the state park and move back into the state park. So I hate to waste your time with approval, but we really just need to use the footpath only. Don't really need any other services
And then
or
it goes right into the state park, and you say it starts and
starts and
stops?
finishes at the same place inside the state park.
Well, do you turn around there at Annie Drive then, or?
Before, before it.
Where the trail comes out at the wildlife landing.
That is correct. Before we get to the wildlife landing, that they will turn around. And our goal is to show off every bit of.
And how far into the park then do you go?
Into the park?
Yeah. Do
So
you run through the park, around, inside the park?
we do. We
Well,
utilize
Say to get a full marathon.
half marathon. Yeah, we utilize every trail in the park and some a couple times.
Be careful, I've gotten lost in there.
Yeah, right.
It's the right time of year to do it in the middle of winter. So we already have about 100 people registered. We anticipate somewhere in the neighborhood 200 to 300. We do have a nonprofit entity, the Friends of the Carolina Beach, or Friends of Pleasure Island State Park, which we plan on doing a donation to at the end of the event.
Great. Staff, everything good?
We've reviewed everything, and like you said, there's only limited responsibilities for the town. And it's really just using the property where we have the trail.
See, no problem
So
with
is
that.
there
That's
Memorial Bicycle Ride, is that the event?
No, sir. It's the Carolina Beach Trail Half Marathon,
Yeah, I'm in the-
December
Yeah,
30th.
see,
I'm out of order again.
They're out of order.
They're out of order.
You're out of order. So,
Similar to the previous item, this is a first-time event, and we're just bringing it to you for your approval.
problem.
So what do you need, just a vote?
Need a vote? Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
you to sign up?
What were the hours?
We would utilize that from 8 to noon, or maybe
Yeah.
1 o'clock.
Yes, sir.
They
Eight-
need you to sign up.
Sign up.
It might be over my head, but I think
We do have a
Councilman
5K.
Shuttleworth is definitely gonna sign up for
I'm
this.
sure he will.
Yeah.
There's a 5K, so
Oh, yeah, so there is a 5K.
it is. It's
and a-
all on campus.
Oh,
so
okay.
It'll
okay.
use none of the
We can
none of
do
the town
that.
property.
I'll get back with you on that, all right?
Sounds good.
I'll make a motion to approve the event, special event request for CB State Park Marathon, half marathon. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Appreciate you coming
Thank
and
you.
Thank you all very much.
presenting it to us.
Are you gonna be better in time to participate?
I never get to run.
Just wondering.
Well, it's a half marathon. You've got half the equipment.
Next item on the agenda is a special event request for a Warriors Silkies hike. I'm sorry if I butchered that.
Yeah, it's an organization, the Reverend Warriors, and what it is, it's supposed to be a 22-kilometer hike. We've shortened it, go through town. What it is 22 kilometers, carrying 22 kilos for 22 veterans each day commit suicide. And what it is, it just brings veterans together, camaraderie, have fun, get together, get to meet each other, help each other out. What we're looking for is just really hike through town, bring awareness to it. We're cutting it off at 75 veterans. We'll have one nurse for every 50 hikers. What we want to do is start at Saints Cove, go to the beach, walk the beach up to the pier, up to the boardwalk, walk down the boardwalk, go over to Hoplite, cross the street at Hoplite over to Lazy Pirate, and then come back down and stop at, ended at Saints Cove again.
Where's your staging area?
We'll be at Saints Cove is where we're starting at.
Okay, are they going to be able to accommodate all
Yeah,
the vehicles?
starting at 7 o'clock in the morning is registration. We'll be out of there by 9. Start the hike at 9 o'clock. We'll be done by 1 out of there.
Staff review?
Staff has reviewed this, and we've come up with a list of items like we do on most of our events. Things such as police escorts and things like that for crossing the streets and so forth. But yes, all those have been accommodated, and we believe that this will be a positive experience for the town.
What's the time of the year that we like to do these type of things? So
Yeah.
that's good.
Well, we want to do it October 21st, Saturday.
Nothing going on that day else, is there?
Will you have to close Lake Park Boulevard?
No, we shouldn't have to close Lake Park Boulevard. They'll be going right down the sidewalk.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah. And everybody groups together, no stragglers left behind.
Sounds like a great event.
I've been to 3 of them. I just got back from New York. We had one, New York City had about 3,000 people hiking. They were a lot of fun,
Where do your participants come from?
all over. This one here, we have some participants from Savannah, Georgia, Jacksonville, Florida that's coming up, Fort Bragg, Camp Lejeune.
That's great.
Well, do I have a motion?
I make a motion that we approve the special event request for Irreverent Warriors Silkies hike.
Unless there's any discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very
I
much.
appreciate
Looking
that.
forward to it.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Looking forward to it.
Are you guys going to have a ceremony anywhere or have any kind of a,
What we want to do is, I want to get one of the local bands, high school bands, to play the national anthem at the beginning, and a color guard at the beginning of it.
okay,
Great.
great,
Okay?
thanks.
Thank you.
Good luck with it.
Thank you.
This is a special event night, folks. Next item on the agenda is a request for KIS scavenger hunt fundraiser.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. My name is Dawn Gual, and I am the, excuse me. Are you doing something? So is it the clicker? I am the founder of KISS, which is an active wear line promoting empowerment of women and inspiring, and our mission is to help with human trafficking. I also serve on the, you know what, maybe it's better. I thought it was a laptop, I apologize. Click. I also serve on the executive board of A Safe Place, and this is Dawn Ferrer. She is the program director of A Safe Place. We are here this evening to ask the town to partner in our vision to bring awareness and education to the growing issue of human trafficking. We would like to have a scavenger hunt on Saturday, November 4th of this year. The hunt will be about 2.5 miles long. We're anticipating it'll take about an hour and a half. We would like to have food vendors and local artisans set up around the lake. The participants will be a minimum of groups of 4, maximum of 6. We're recommending ages 12 up to, and what we would like to do is also ask for the participants and the attendees to bring donations for the Carolina Beach Elementary School that we will then donate at the end of the event. The scavenger hunt would start at the lake and it will also end at the lake. We have 9 points of location where the teams will go through the challenges. Out of the 9 points, there will be 2 locations that LSVs will be used. We're thinking about 2 to 3. But the majority of the hunt will be walked and or biked, and it will be concentrated at the boardwalk. We are hoping to ask the participants to park at the Shell station, which will be easily accessible for them to get to point 1, which is at the lake. And the volunteers, we're approximately thinking that we would need about 20 volunteers, and we're asking them to park at the MAC parking lot where they will be transported through with the low-speed vehicle. The estimated time of the event will be from 9 to 2, this hunt approximately from 9 to 11. And we will have, again, around the lake, live music and vendors, all hopeful local vendors. We have already about 5 that have said that they would contribute, and if this does get approved this evening, we will also have a PA system and DJ and/or band. The layout that we're proposing would be the PA system will be in front of the stage. We will then have food vendors, about 4 located around and outside of the lake itself, about 7 artisans or local business vendors, 4 trash cans strategically placed throughout the lake, and 3 porta johns adjacent to the bathrooms that are already there. We're hoping to have everything cleaned up by 4, and we could not think of a better people or place to partner with to help with this mission. Thank you for the opportunity and consideration.
Hey, Dawn, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you, Dan?
Good.
Come on over, Dan. It's Dawn, so it's easy to remember.
Just curious, has this gone through staff? Has the application been
Yes, it has.
processed?
Yes.
Everything good with staff?
So far, so good. Yes, sir.
Well, it sounds like a great event for a great cause, and you're going to have most of your scavenger hunt at the boardwalk, but you're going to have your event at the lake.
Correct.
Great.
It would begin and end there.
So the partnership with us is what would you need from the town?
Your approval, and to join the scavenger hunt. Yeah, and what we're hoping is to really help bridge the awareness with education, and that's why we want to partner and give back to the elementary schools.
That's great. Well,
Thank you.
we love doing things for good causes, and we love doing things that give back to our locals, so it sounds like a win-win. So do I have a motion? Do we need a motion? You want to approve this?
Yes, please.
I'll make a motion to approve the special event KAS scavenger hunt fundraiser. There's some discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Sounds great. Let me know if I can do anything.
Thank you so
Thanks,
much.
Don.
Guys, have a
Thanks,
good evening.
guys.
And then next is a presentation by our Assistant Town Manager, Ed Parvin, on upcoming special events.
Mayor, Council, as you see, we've got a lot of new events coming into the town, so that's a good thing in the shoulder seasons.
We need an event coordinator.
And
I know, right?
they all came in when she was out, so how about that? So on top of those that you just heard, we do have several that are ongoing and upcoming. So the farmers market at the lake is continuing through October 7th, and it is extremely busy right now. If you want to go down there, there's a lot of vendors down there. It's a lot of fun. And this coming weekend is the Dragon Boat Regatta, which is also a really great event that's been there for years now. And we still need a few more on the Carolina Beach team. So if anybody wants to jump in and help out with the Carolina Beach team, please do that.
How many people are we short?
3, I think.
About 2 to 3.
There you go.
I'm on there. You're
I was just checking.
Dan's on there.
So this year is,
I was not signed up yet, no. I have not yet done that.
there's 2 right there.
No, I have not yet done that.
I'm signed up.
We're already signed up.
Are you
like I
committing,
have-
Councilman
Just like I
Shuttleworth,
haven't
or
signed
not?
up for the marathon.
No, I'm steadfastly remaining non-committal. I've done it every year.
At least you're
since then.
consistent.
You didn't
I'm
do it last
consistent. Yeah, I did.
Well,
Yeah, I
not
did.
with us.
Sorry, again.
Okay.
Every year we do Island Day. This year is, we alternate every year. This year is Curie Beach's turn, so that's going to be September 24th down in Curie Beach. Another great event for cancer awareness is Day of Hope, and that's going to be September 30th. You can still register online down here. I got the website, and everybody's going to meet at the Carolina Beach Gazebo. That's all walk on the beach. And October events, there is a marathon and half marathon on October 8th. They're starting at the Carolina Beach Elementary School. And there's a fall surf challenge, the Pleasure Island Fall Surf Challenge will be October 20th through 22nd. That's a fishing challenge, so that'll be going on the same time as the Veteran Walk, but they will not conflict with each other. Should be a busy weekend down on the island. And then we have our annual Firefighters Association barbecue is end of the month on the 28th. I'll always get a plate there. And Greg and Megan have done a great job this year and got some good bands for the 24th annual Pleasure Island Seafood Blues and Jazz Festival. So they've got some big names that's coming up. Should be a lot of fun. That's it.
So Ed, did I miss it? Did you do Island Day?
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Island
sorry.
Day
Okay.
is Curie Beach.
September 24th.
Sorry, I was looking at the agenda. All right, thanks. Anything for Ed? Thank you, Ed. Next item on the agenda is a presentation from our police chief regarding the opioid, it's an opioid update, basically, and what the town is doing to deal with that issue.
Good evening again, Mayor, Council, folks here and at home. In late May, we had a workshop, and we brought up the opiate issue and had some eye-opening, frank, real conversation. I learned a lot. I hope y'all did as well. And what council tasked us with was to look for some options, creative ideas, and things we can do here on Pleasure Island to assist with the problem. I want to first say thank you for the Police Advisory Committee. We have spent every meeting speaking for hours on this topic, coming up with some really good creative ideas. We've had some partners that came in and gave some presentations and offered us assistance in ways. Just a quick update on some stats since then, just a little over 3 months, is that the police have not had to perform any Narcan reversals. And I'm not going to say that they haven't been occurring, because the community certainly has the availability, a family member has the availability to do a reversal or a revival. A lot of times, depending on where we're located and when the call comes out, it's usually the fire department or our police department that's on scene first. So prior to that, we had done a dozen or more. So I would say that that's good, but doesn't necessarily tell the whole truth, just so we know where we stand with that. I spoke with Captain Sword from the fire department, and he advises that they've had no reversals that they've done. EMS has probably done maybe close to a dozen. And it's the possibility we have had one fatality, because with certain types of deaths, sometimes toxicology reports take a while from the medical examiner's office, and that's just something that you can't bona fide say what it was at any particular time until we get those results back. I did a little reading and also was speaking with a local law enforcement executive in our area, and the New York Times reports that almost 65,000 fatalities occurred in 2016 from overdose nationwide. Just to put that in a little bit of perspective, the U.S. National Archive records indicate that 58,000 Americans died in the Vietnam War conflict, and that stretched well over a decade and a half, and we're just talking about 2016 with 65,000 as a mortality rate. What we're doing locally as a department, and with the assistance of the Police Advisory Committee and some partnerships we've formed, is we have in the past, and we're still identifying the low-level users, the addicts that are seeking help and looking for diversion. We had a presentation from RHA, which is a local group that is a rapid response personnel that can come, that specializes in giving resources to those individuals, not just with addiction, but also those that maybe suffer from depression or having some sort of a critical incident that happens in their life at any given time. We've made several arrests with possession with intent to sell and deliver. In the last few months, we've still got ongoing investigations with both local, state, and federal agencies for other cases. We have a town employee member that is currently serves on the MAT committee, which is the Medication Assisted Treatment Committee. There's only 2 of these statewide. They're formed by the federal government. It's an initiative to identify challenges and possible improvements concerning the application of medication-assisted treatment in our region. We do have a syringe exchange program that's operating in Pleasure Island with association with North Carolina Harm Reduction Coalition. The police department has experienced a significant decrease in the reports and the collection of used syringes. I think the Police Advisory Committee noted the same thing at our meeting last night. A little more research to touch onto that was that from about June 2016 to June 2017, 95% exchange rate from clean needles that were distributed were returned. I would call that a pretty successful exchange rate. We've identified some caring, dedicated members of the recovery community in our area that want to help us locally, and they're forming a group to provide peer support, resource referrals, and general assistance. They're currently coordinating with North Carolina Harm Reduction Coalition for training that provides addicts with resources and tools towards a positive path for recovery. And in late October, just in the next few weeks, Carolina Beach is one of 4 sites that will host a day-long medication drop-off. This is an event that happens twice a year. It's partnered with North Carolina Correction, New Hanover Regional Medical Center, and North Carolina SBA. North Carolina SBI, it's one of the most proactive ways we can do to get unwanted, used, expired medication out of medicine cabinets and in a safe disposal site. And that's what we've done over the past 3 months.
Well, that sounds like a lot to me.
Yeah.
I can tell you that, you know, it's easy for council to task you with getting creative on this issue, but it's the police department, our police advisory committee that are doing the heavy lifting here, trying to, you know, figure out how to implement, come up with the programs, figure out how to implement them, and so we very much appreciate that. I can tell you this is a topic that is filtering its way up from municipalities to the state government and the federal government. About 4 weeks ago, I had a mayor's meeting with David Rouser, Congressman Rouser, and this was 50% of the discussion was on this issue, and he has pledged trying to make some additional funds available for local municipalities to deal with these issues, because these are costly to us. These programs are good, but you know, there's a cost to them. And I attended a rally and an event in Wilmington at Greenfield Lake about 2 weeks ago, put on by Heart of Wilmington, that was to bring awareness to opioid addiction and overdose. And Mayor Saffo, myself, and Representative Ted Davis, and Chairman Woody White were there, and all committed to moving towards these same goals. So I would encourage us to, you know, plow forward, and also, Michael, we probably need to, you and I, reach out to our state representatives and federal representatives and let them know what kind of, maybe we can put together some type of a executive summary of what we're doing and what we plan to do, and try and seek some additional funding, and maybe we should get with our other beach communities in Wilmington to maybe put more of a little coalition together so we can make that
Right. And
most successful.
excuse me, Mr. Mayor. Chief, I'd love to be able to get a copy of your report, because there is some good information in there, and as citizens ask us about the concerns about the opioid problem, we have some responses we can give them with that information.
I'll be happy to supply you with that.
And guys, I wanted to tell you that we have a lot of groups and committees in our town, and we task them with a lot of things that we'd like them to do as a council. But the Police Advisory Committee, we gave them a huge task, and along with Chief Spivey, they have really done so much to put Carolina Beach ahead of this. We're not sticking our head in the sand and saying we don't have a problem. We're saying we want to get in front of the problem. And that committee took it serious, and they have done an excellent job. And I see we have a couple of members here, and just wanted to say thank you. And Chief, you've been there with them, and I think it's just a great progress that you guys have made.
Well, one thing I'd like to add to that too is one of the big takeaways in our presentation, the first presentation we had on this, was it will take the community being involved to really be successful with this, and I think that's happening, and I'm hoping that is the reason why we're seeing fewer incidents of overdosing, and you can always hope, and I think having the community involved is a great thing.
The community's been very supportive. This type of issue trends with the drug.
Yeah.
We have different drugs that are stronger and hurt people. Sometimes we have to stand back and reassess and change the blueprint a little bit, but this was a real attempt, and I think a firm start and foundation to make a blueprint for where we're headed, and I appreciate y'all's support.
You have it.
Well, you know, in speaking with Mayor Saffo, he's reporting that, and through the state, that 10% of our population is some type of a addiction issue, which is, you know, substantial, obviously. And I would just say that, you know, whether you're an inadvertent addict, if you got injured and, you know, got on some type of medication and you became addicted through prescription drugs, or whether you're using it another way, these are not issues that law enforcement or town council or a committee or our state or federal representatives are going to solve. This is largely a community issue, and we all need to come together on it and support the efforts that are underway. And we really appreciate what you're doing.
My pleasure.
And Chief, can you give us the date of that all-day drop-off and the location? Do you know?
They haven't made the flyer yet.
Okay.
That'll be coming shortly. I believe it's the last Saturday in October, but I'll make sure that we post that on social media and on our website so y'all can have availability.
And for the public, you can drop off old prescriptions every day.
That's correct. We have a medication drop box. It's open 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, at the front entrance to the police department. You just open up. It's almost like a mailbox. Drop it in, and we take care of it.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Council.
Chief.
Thank you, Mayor.
So, Michael, are you doing Gil's update?
I'm doing Gil's update and my update together, if you don't mind.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Troop.
Appreciate it, guys.
For Gil's project update, he wanted me to let you know that our Phase B project is coming generally to a close. We have passed about 80% of the construction work to date. Right now, we are finishing up Hamlet Avenue for the utility improvements. That should be done this month. And then next month, we'll move into finalizing the first course of asphalt and the sidewalks on Hamlet. Then we'll move on to one of our last streets, which is Charlotte Avenue. And that'll take us till about January to complete the utility improvements. That's water, sewer, stormwater improvements throughout that section from Lake Park all the way to 5th Street. And then once again, about a month or so after that, we'll finish up the ribbon pavement and the sidewalk. At the current time, we are on track and on time with the project, and expect that we will have most everything wrapped up with the final layer of asphalt and the signs and markings and things like that somewhere in the March to April time frame. Phase 1 of the marina project is pretty much complete. If you've been by the marina, you see the new bulkhead that we have there, concrete bulkhead with steel pilings. That project was completed last month at the very tail end of August. We are working right now on the railings and the sidewalks that go along there. Those railings, we're doing those in-house, and we're tying them into the same type of railing system as we have at the boardwalk. So you'll have a common theme when everything gets done at the marina of the railings looking very similar to the boardwalk and tying you in from the marina all the way up to the boardwalk on Pelican Lane. We expect that we'll start doing temporary boat storage in the new section, the Phase 1 section of the marina, probably in November. And we have 5 boats on the west side that will be moving over into that temporary storage area for the fall and the spring. The Phase 2 portion of the marina improvement project, we are going to go and advertise for bids starting the end of this week, Friday, and we expect to bring a council award contract request to you in October for the remainder portion of that project. Notice to proceed would be in November, construction to begin in December, and approximately till April to complete that project. One of the things that we learned from our current project, or our Phase 1 project with the marina, had a lot to do with the soils and the material that was left from hurricanes past in that general area at the marina. So with that learned experience, we believe that we'll be able to finish the second phase of this in a more rapid pace, since we know basically what types of soils and materials are in the ground in the particular area. The Island Greenway, we will have a bid opening for the Island Greenway next week, Tuesday the 19th at 2 o'clock. Council award, we're hoping to bring that to council in October on the 10th. Notice to proceed in November, and construction to begin in December. That's about a 6-month project, so with the holidays and things like that, we're looking at July for a completion on that project at this point.
That's a 6-month project that's taken 5 years, right, Steve?
5 years to come to fruition, yes.
Yes, sir. 5 years to get to the point where we're starting to do construction.
Hallelujah.
It comes with financial resources from the state and federal government, which does tend to slow things down.
Plus, it's being put on property that doesn't belong to us, and
That tends to
another
slow things
glitch.
down.
That didn't help.
The other project that's very similar to that is our Cape Fear multi-use path. We had completed with our Phase A water, sewer, stormwater project a section of this trail from 3rd to 6th Street. This would be the final section from 6th Street to Dow on Cape Fear Boulevard. We are expecting to go out for bid and get bid openings in October. We have been approved through the Transportation Board for the funding, which was one of the last hurdles that we needed to jump before we could actually go out and start bidding the project. So we'll do bid openings in October, hopefully an award for a contract in November, December notice to proceed, January construction, and it's basically a 3 to 4 month project that should be done around the beginning of April. Once again, as Councilman Deitch mentioned, this has been an easy 3-year project that will take us 4 months to construct.
And we hope Fred Grady is listening.
Yes, I hope he is.
Hopefully.
But it's very positive news that finally we have made it through all the state and federal hurdles to get those funds so that we can start construction and
Let's
get
don't
moving.
talk about that a whole lot. I'm always scared that there's something that we have missed.
One last thing, knock on wood.
Yeah.
The last update is our lake dredging project. On August 29th, we were alerted to a misunderstanding with Matsu. Previously, back in 2013, the town had received authorization to take the spoils from the lake dredging and place them at the on Matsu property at our wastewater treatment plant. The initial placement was going to be in our old EQ basin. We were basically going to fill the basin. In 2015, we brought to council a recommendation that we really needed, for the sake of having a backup system to our wastewater treatment plant, to go and rehab that old EQ basin. We received approval from Matsu to do that, but at that point, the next step was naturally to get authorization on a location for the new spoils. That seemed to have fallen through the cracks, and basically Matsu noticed that we were doing what we told them we would be doing all along, which is placing spoils on the property, and became concerned. So we have been working with Matsu for the past 3 weeks, sending them plans which had previously, we believe, been sent to them to make sure that they understand what materials are being placed on the property. I expect that by next week we should have an official letter from the Matsu establishment approved through their Savannah offices stating basically their concerns, and then we'll be able to address those concerns. As I said, we've already sent the material to them in hopes that that will alleviate their concerns before the letter goes out. But with the Hurricane Irma response, the Savannah office for Matsu, they handle the Virgin Islands, and so they have been somewhat preoccupied, I guess I'd say, with the Irma response. Needless to say, we're expecting to get that letter and to be able to work with them through the misunderstanding. But in the meantime, I don't want to slow down or stop the project any longer than I have to for the dredging of the lake. We're approximately halfway through the dredging project, and before we requested our contractor to suspend work until we could figure out what was happening with our relationship with Matsu, they had been ramping up to almost 53 truckloads of material a day, which is great. We would have been right on target to have finished the project and reseeded and reestablished the facilities and everything by by January, which would have been about a month ahead of schedule. At this point, we are looking at backup locations to put the spoils, not knowing how long it will take Matsu and the federal government to get us letters and respond to our statements back to them. We are looking right now for other locations that we can deposit the spoils. There are no other locations on the island naturally, so the places that we're looking at will be off-island locations. Hoping that we will be able to solidify a location by the end of this week and move forward, hopefully in the next week, with changing the location and continuing the project.
Mike, I have a couple of questions. One, before Irma got as close as we thought it was going to come, Gil had made an attempt to dredge a channel over to the eastern outfall of the lake. Did we get that completed prior to?
We did
stopping?
not. That was just about the same time as Matsu alerting us to the issue. Basically, Matsu requested that until we figure out the details of their concerns, that we should stop putting spoil material on the property. In doing that, we had to stop the contractor from hauling material away. So we only had the cofferdams to fill up. So we didn't get very far in actually cleaning that out. However, we have tested the pumps for the outfall to the ocean, the emergency outfall, in the exact configuration that they're at now, and they work fine.
Okay.
So we're not too concerned about, if we have a storm come up, being able to go and utilize that feature.
The other question I have is the construction that's going on in our spray field that we used to have. Is that connected to getting that reestablished and reusing that?
The spray field, we actually have discontinued its use completely for many reasons, one of which was that the spray heads that they were used were not sufficient, and the cost of trying to upfit the spray field to do what it was intended to in the first place would have been cost prohibitive. The state realized that we hadn't been using the spray field and requested that we look at discontinuing the permit for it. So we've done that. The spray field area currently is part of that area where we're putting the spoils.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Michael on the project?
My part of the update is just to let you know 3 particular items. One is that, as we heard earlier with the presentation on the half marathon out of the state park, the Corps of Engineers has received funds and authorization to armor several sections of Snow's Cut with riprap. And these are areas where it is close to our walking trail that goes through the Corps of Engineers property down at Snow's Cut. It will be an armoring project where they come in with large truckloads of riprap and stabilize the banks. This will be a good thing for us because what we have now is very unstable banks and a lot of people that want to use them for fishing, and it becomes a safety hazard. They expect that they'll start this project somewhere in the November-December range. And as the gentleman mentioned, he's already been in contact with the Corps of Engineers, Jim Matlock, and I've talked to Jim about ways that we can accommodate, one, their run, but during this construction project, we will have to close off portions, if not all, of the Snow's Cut Trail. That is mainly for safety because there will be heavy equipment in the area, and they will be cutting back the slopes and doing the construction project. They're expecting only a few months' worth of construction projects, so by the spring again, they'll reestablish our trail, and we'll be back up with a snows cut trail that people can walk and run on. The other item is Lake Park Traffic Study Workshop. Several months ago, council authorized us to contract with Kimley Horn to do a traffic study on Lake Park all the way from Dow, actually all the way from the Food Lion at the bottom of the bridge all the way to Carl Winter Avenue. They have collected all the data and gone through that process and analyzed much of the data. The next portion of that will be tomorrow's presentation and workshop here in council chambers, September the 13th from 6 to 8. We encourage everybody to come and to engage with the consultants about what types of issues you see on Lake Park in these sections, what kind of solutions you may have for these types of issues. The consultant, Jonathan Guy, will do a short presentation at the very beginning of it to explain what they have found in the analysis of the data, and then go through the workshop format. This will be the first of 2 workshops. The second workshop will be in October, and it'll be directed mainly at businesses along the corridor, and we will send out special advance notice to them. Just so everybody knows, other than the press release that went out about this particular workshop, we also sent out direct mailings to every property owner or business along that section of Lake Park to try and get people energized into coming in and giving us their thoughts and opinions, and have a good public showing for that meeting. So that's tomorrow night here in council chambers from 6 to 8.
When did that data collection take place, the last part of summer?
They actually were able to utilize a lot of data that they had from the Harris Teeter project and from other land use projects in this area, and added to that were a lot of the summer data that they collected during the height of our season. So it was good timing that we did it when we did, and they started collecting data in July.
And after that workshop tomorrow, when will it come back to council, the suggestions?
We'll have the second meeting in October. I believe it's November or December that we come back to council with a, here is what we've learned and some recommendations.
Okay.
And the last thing is just to ask for you to bear with us. We are having quite a staff turnover at Town Hall. Currently, we have 2 vacant positions in our planning department. We have a code enforcement officer position and a planner 1 position. In our operations department, we have our public works superintendent or supervisor. We have our administrative section supervisor and an equipment operator position. And then in the police department, we have 2 previously filled officers who have gone on to other communities where we have to fill those positions, and the 3 positions that council added to this current budget for the police department, which was 2 officers and 1 detective. So all told, we have 10 high-profile, very important positions that we're looking to fill. If you go over to the planning department, you'll see Ed working the desk an awful lot because we're very short-staffed in that area. So bear with us. We are expecting over the next couple of months to be doing interviews for these positions, and we've actually done quite a few interviews already to date.
Did you do any exit interviews to try to get your hands around the reason that we have these openings?
Yes, we did, and from the general perspective of the folks that have left, they were for personal reasons, not for anything in particular with the organization. We had individuals where they, their family or spouse got promotions and they had to move. Where they decided, you know what, I want to move back towards my family and things of that nature. So it was much more personal than it was a professional reason behind it. That's all I have for tonight.
Thank you, Michael. You want to give us a quick update on where we are with the joint community land use plan process?
The JLUTS process with Matsu, certainly. Approximately 8 months or more ago, we agreed to work with other communities around Matsu, municipalities that border Matsu, and work with them to perform a joint land use plan study, which would basically be a 18-month process of analyzing the use of property around the buffer zone. This was a good thing for us because it will make it so we have a better understanding of what things can and cannot go into the buffer zone. And also it'll help Matsu in making sure that they understand where their boundaries are and what things impact them outside of their boundaries, such as heights of buildings and things of that nature. We went through a process of trying to get a Department of Defense grant that was awarded to the Council of Government. So they are managing the grant from the DoD, and that will be used to go and run this study and have a consultant come in and manage the study. We have 3 study groups, one that is a policy group, which the mayor sits on, and that is mostly elected officials from the municipalities. We have a technical group, which Ed and I will be sitting on, and then an operational group that Gil will be sitting on. Hopefully, we're looking at the next month or so to start meeting regularly in each one of those resources to start working on this plan so that we can get a firm grasp on what things go on in the Matsu buffer and what things impact them.
Thank you, Michael. Any questions for Michael?
Come on, really? Yeah, I got a bunch. None of them are appropriate for this meeting. Can you give us an update on what the state did with the coastal storm damage reduction dedicated funding stream? What your take on that was?
Yes, basically, the accomplishments that we had in the state legislature is the legislature established a state fund, a fund that would come from the general fund operating budget of the state for a statewide coastal storm damage reduction program, basically stating that the state will participate in virtually every local community's coastal storm damage reduction program. They did not go and establish the actual funds for that this year. Very good step in the right direction, but the next step is going to be the big one, which is trying to determine what resources will go into this fund and how those funds will be divvied up once the resources are there. The initial estimate from the state was looking at a $25 million a year fund that would help support all those coastal storm damage reduction programs along the coast. Whether or not they'll be able to agree to that in the next session and put in $25 million, that's going to be where we need political and community support to get those types of things passed.
So, as far as beach nourishment, coastal storm damage reduction, can you update everyone on where we're at as far as the Carolina Beach, our next nourishment, and when we're going to, we've been talking about that at the Ports and Waterway. I just wanted you to share that with.
Our next nourishment project will be in 2019. Currently, that is on our 3-year cycle. We have funds that have been dedicated to us for mitigation of Hurricane Matthew last year. I have sent in the request this afternoon to the Corps of Engineers for mitigation for Hurricane Irma and the damage that we've had for the beach erosion from that storm. We will be funded through 2019 with our federal nourishment project along with Curry Beach. Once that takes place, then we will still be struggling to determine what happens in the 2019 22 timeframe for funding. That's where we're hoping that the state funds start playing a more prominent role compared to the federal funds.
Does it look like the state is gonna have enough money to do what they anticipated doing? And
I have seen various projections that would make it so they could have the appropriate funding levels to step up their game compared to the federal government. Whether or not they get all the way through the legislature is somewhat of an unknown.
and was the material we lost off the beach for Irma a substantial amount?
At this point, we don't know quantity-wise. This coming Thursday, the Corps of Engineers will be running their units up and down the beach and taking transects, and they'll compare that against what we had in May of 2016 before Matthew hit and at the end of our last nourishment cycle. And that'll tell us between the two of them how much we actually lost in sand. There's definitely been an acceleration of erosion on the southern end. Let's say North Carolina south to Alabama. We've replaced all of the beach accesses on the south end, and we are going to have to work on two of them that we replaced because the steps were gone.
That's the section that didn't get any sand last time.
It didn't get much. It got some, but not a huge amount because the template didn't show that it needed it. And basically that's how they determined where the placement of sand is.
So, Michael, we do have funding for 2019. It looks like we're going to be okay with Curie Beach. We're going to go out to get our drawings done in 18 and go out early in 19 for bid and nourishment. And then in 22, it would be a three-way or potentially three beach action with, that's when Wrightsville comes up for theirs and we and Curie would be up again. And that is between now and then is where we need to work with New Hanover County on these transects, because the goal there is to see if the sand placement over the years has been in the right places and the right amounts, because there is some rumblings out there, and I've talked to the mayor about this from time to time. There's some questions and rumblings. Can we go to a 4-year cycle as opposed to a 3-year cycle? And I haven't seen those documents that say that we can. I mean, that's kind of where Layton is always pushing us to look at that. And then the other is right now we're at a 65-35 where the feds pay 65 and the 35 is split between the state and the local ROT. The reason we've been pushing so hard on that state legislation is if the feds go away, then are we going to go to a 50-50, or how do we deal with the state? Will they step up from 17.5% to 50%? So we're not quite out of the woods yet on our local ROT dollars, and I just want you guys to know that, right? We're getting closer, and this was a huge step from the state, and we're getting better. So
We're making very good progress in the fight to try and get
But the reason I chuckled was because we ran out, our permit expired a number of years ago, and they gave us 3 years to get an extension, with the idea being the first year we would explore how to get there, the second year we would do the research, and the third year they would review it and tell us whether we qualify for the extension or not. We're almost into the 4th year, and we haven't even gotten a roadmap yet. So when Matsu tells us, we're going to start having our meetings next month for a joint land use plan that'll happen with the grant, we could be years before they tell us what we can do over there.
And to make matters worse, we started on this 8 years before
Right.
before the expiration of our federal
Right.
program.
Well, but the good thing is we're putting a little money aside each year to at least position Carolina Beach in a better position, I think, to meet a matching amount. And I don't want to say any more about that. because-
Well, nothing comes fast or easy on this issue. We've been working on it hard. Steve's our representative on Ports Waterway and Beach. And, this is a big step, even though the funding's, not there yet. But just getting them moving in the right direction has been a huge task. So thank you for all the staff's work.
It's just like anything else. Multiple government agencies means slower work.
Right. So I'm so happy that the joint land use is starting to schedule their proposed meeting schedule.
Yeah, I'm tickled pink. It went from a year to 18 months. I can't tell you. I guess we'll move on.
Now let's talk about old.
Next item on the agenda is old business. It's a FEMA, it's a FMA on my agenda, FMA, FMA, elevation bid award.
I have the same thing.
It's French.
Mayor, Council, the purpose of this agenda item is to award, or have council award the bid for the lowest responsible bidder for this round of FEMA grants to raise houses. But before we do that, I wanted to go through the program a little bit. To date, this is a program that Jeremy Hardison, our senior planner, has been managing for the last 6 or 7 years, and it's FEMA funds that they allocate and they pay the majority, 90% of raising these homes that are repetitive loss properties. So it's a phenomenal opportunity for our community to have, basically almost for free, have their houses raised, and these are folks that are continuously having flooding in their homes. So in 2010 we started and we only had one home at that point. In 2013 we got over $1 million and raised 7 homes. In 2014 we actually had 6 and we ended up 3 pulled out, so we only raised 3 that year. And that's what tonight we're looking at, 3 additional homes for this year. And usually Jeremy submits 10 or 15 homes, and he's in the process. He's got 10 proposed for 2017, and there's still opportunity. We won't be submitting that paperwork to FEMA until late October, so there's still opportunity for more applications. If you contact Jeremy Hardison from our website, then you can still put in an application to have your home raised. It is limited to those folks that have had flood claims. It doesn't matter when, but you had to have a flood claim on your house, and it has to be something where FEMA has paid out money for that claim. So that's basically the only criteria, and like I said, it's been a great program. The 3 that we're looking at this is the 2015 funding that we've gotten a letter of approval. We're waiting on, 2016 we've got a letter of approval. We're waiting on the grant funds. So we're hoping to start on the 2016 properties early in 2018. So we'll be coming back to you probably early 2018 for that, once that goes out to bid. These 3 are the 2015 properties that we're asking you to make a motion to approve our lowest responsible bidder tonight. And there's one on 3rd Street, Wilson, and Canal, the 3 that are getting funds.
Ed, what were the reasons why the 3 withdrew in 2014? Do you know?
Personal reasons. A lot of people don't want to go through that type of renovation, that expansive of a renovation, so they're a little scared of it. It takes some time, and it is raising. In some instances, there's an ability to reconstruct the entire house. So, and it really is a phenomenal deal that FEMA will pay for that.
It's a 10% match, right?
Yes, sir. 10% would be
Owners
from.
pay 10%.
Owners would pay 10%.
So the town pays nothing.
The town does end up fronting the money, but FEMA pretty much immediately pays us back. So we do have to budget it. So we did budget it for this 2015 round. If it gets to the point where we could get that funding for 2016 before the new budget year, we might have to allocate that money in a budget amendment later or early 2018.
Ed, speaking of FEMA, how are the new flood maps coming along?
New flood maps are moving forward. We did get an update from the state, and it does look like we're still on track for spring of 2018. So we're keeping our fingers crossed. I know I've been saying that for about 3 years now, but they're fairly confident that we're going to be able to move forward.
You've
with
been
those.
saying September, you just didn't say which year. Okay. Anything, you need something from us?
Need the motion.
Motion
Do I
to
have a
approve
motion?
our lowest responsible bidder.
Anyone like to make a motion?
I can make a motion that we award the fiscal year 15 elevation grant to Buchel Construction to elevate 3 residential homes. They were the low bidder.
Motion on the floor, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Ed. Great program for our citizens. And are we letting people know that any other way than listening to this meeting?
What we get from the state is a list of those who have had losses, and we do contact all of them and ask if they're interested. So we do get a lot of people who are interested who do not meet those two qualifications, those criteria. And we can put those in, but they most likely will not get funded. Like typically we'll put 10 or 15 in, and only 3 or 4 will end up getting funded.
Gotcha. Okay. Next item on the agenda is public comment. First public comment is Patrick Boykin.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members, and people in the audience here and at home. My name is Patrick Boykin, 712 Glen Avenue, Carolina Beach. The Solid Waste Center continues to have noise issues. I think that's one of the things now that's most aggravating. Probably 2 or 3 months ago, I asked for some additional screening at the end of the ramp there that was left off from the initial project. And as of yet, I've not seen anything on that, and I was just wondering if there's any update as to when that might be projected, or, you know, what the
I know
status
council
of that
hasn't had
is.
any discussion. Michael, have you had any discussion with staff about that?
Yes, and I honestly don't have an answer for you tonight, but I can definitely get one and get it back to you.
The second item I would like to discuss is there an update on when the Kenneth Avenue, Glen Avenue, Blanche Avenue, and Elton Avenue paving is going to take place? That, you know, they had to do all they had to do all the water connections for the new Ocean Heights and everything, but, you know, it seems that work is completed, but the paving hasn't been
Somewhat
started.
private developer driven there, I think. Michael, do you have any?
They're trying to finish up the last bit of extending the sewer line on one section and doing in a couple of final tie-ins. Then they'll do all the pavement at the same time. Last update that I received was within a month we should have all new paving in the area.
So it is going to be all new paving. They're not going to kind of patchwork it.
Can't really patchwork because of the amount of disturbance in the area.
Good, okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Ethel Kagan. Good evening.
So I have had a part-time residency here for about 10 years, and 2 years ago, we moved here permanently, I'm happy to say.
Welcome to Carolina Beach.
Thank you.
Can we get your address?
Sorry?
Can we get your address for the record?
Of course, sorry, 704 South Fifth Street,
Thank you.
corner of Sumter. So just take 1 minute to tell you just a little bit about myself, since it's going to be relevant to what I'm going to say. I'm sorry to say that my definition of an expert is that they travel 100 miles and show slides. I only traveled 3 miles and I have no slides for you. However, my specialty is infectious diseases. I have worked nationally and internationally. I've published and my last job was as director of the Infectious Diseases Research Group at Duke Clinical Research Institute in Durham. So my concern is that over the last 10 years, it's very nice. We have all these visitors, and I have several concerns about the impact. And this year, I think, I don't have these statistics to prove it, but it seems to me we've had the biggest influx of visitors, which is great for the economy of this. And I'm happy to say now the restaurants can be open in the winter. When I came here 10 years ago, if you came Thanksgiving, you had to bring your own cooked turkey. So my concern is, first of all, let you know that dog feces carries parasites that cause blindness in children. And in the summer, I've noticed from the number of violations that you've had that a lot of people are not adhering to not only the hours the dogs are allowed, but I've certainly noticed they're certainly not picking up their dog poop. And this poses a serious danger to children. My grandchildren come and play, and it is actually a very serious issue. The other thing is the increase. I'm concerned about the coliform counts that will be raised on the beaches, and I think it's something that we need to consider. God forbid that we have a high coliform count, and I think you probably all know where the coliforms come from. It's the GI tract of humans and animals, and that we would have to, God forbid, close any portion of our beaches. My other concern is I have been very involved in occupational health and safety over I can tell you, I graduated in 1969 as a nurse. Is the sheer number of these golf carts, both rented and purchased, 12 people in a golf cart that should hold 6 people. I drive a car. I am scared to death of hitting somebody and, God forbid, killing some child who is neither wearing a seatbelt nor has a helmet. And they're obviously, you know what they look like. So I just wanted to raise my concerns. I'm not asking for any conclusions or any votes, but I think that it's something you, as the council here, should consider it before somebody says, oh, by the way, health and safety have said you need to close a portion. And I think the coliform counts are particularly hazardous around the 2 hotels since the population density is very high. So I'd just like to make you aware of my concerns, and thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And before we go to the next two, if anyone else, and that's Dean Embler and Keena Keslar, if they want to speak about golf carts, we're going to open up for discussion when we have this golf cart. So you may want to wait till then. If you want to speak now, you can, but might be more in context. Okay. So that's it for public discussion. And since we don't have a lot of items, I just simply plow through this if everybody's good. Okay. Next item on the agenda is a discussion, is the golf cart ordinance amendment. Michael, are you or Ed doing that?
Yes, sir. If I can get the technology to work, I will be right on it.
And so, folks, just so you'll know, this is not a public hearing item.
Yes,
but
it is. Yes, it is a public hearing item.
Not typically. It's not. It's not required to be a public hearing item. But like we do with all community issues, especially the ones that are hotter topics, is we make sure we open it up for public discussions, just like if it were a public hearing. So I think this was intentionally scheduled as a public hearing for that purpose. But so.
Yes, it was, and you stole my thunder.
Sorry.
During the last few months, we have had several conversations with council and the public regarding amendments to the golf cart regulations. Once in June, another one in August. During those discussions, our potential solutions varied from eliminate golf carts and only have slow-moving vehicles to amend our golf carts and try and make them safer And basically, the direction that staff received from council at our last meeting was the latter, and that was to improve safety of golf carts by requiring certain items such as headlamps, tail lamps, turn signals, seat belts, and so forth on golf carts, and then to recognize state-registered low-speed vehicles, because currently our current ordinance does not mention low-speed vehicles in it at all. In order to do that, we went through and looked at our ordinance and the items that we have in there. The first item that will be changed with the new ordinance, if adopted, is a refinement of an existing requirement that we have for golf carts. Golf carts are typically driven on roads that are posted 35 miles an hour and less. One of the items that we had brought up in our meetings was it's very difficult to get from all of our neighborhoods to other parts of the community without crossing a street that is more than 35 miles an hour. That is an approved activity. You can cross a intersection that is of a road 35 miles or more. So we just redefined that section of our code to state this does not prohibit a cart from crossing a road or street at an intersection where the road or street being crossed has a posted speed limit of more than 35 miles an hour. In the past and going forward, we would continue to have a requirement that golf carts have to have liability insurance, and in order to get their town permit, they have to show us proof of that insurance. Drivers shall stay on the far right side of the road and yield to overtaking traffic. That is a standard that we have had in place for many years. Sometimes it's adhered to, other times that it isn't. So that becomes more of an educational aspect that we think from a staff perspective we can try and help with when people come in to get their permits.
I have one question about that. And
Yes, sir.
As they get to the right side, does that also that they can go into the bike lane, or they have to stay out of the bike lane? So I've heard conflicting information about that.
Typically, a painted bike lane, one that has the markers on the pavement, is only for bikes.
Right.
So no, the golf carts or slow-moving vehicles should not be going into those areas. However, there are many streets that we have in town that have a white edge line on the edge of them, but there is no bike lane. There's a paved shoulder. That can be encroached on by those vehicles.
I just wanted to clarify that because someone made a statement to me that they should be in the bike lane, and I know that the police will give them a ticket if you're in the bike lane.
That's
A neighbor of
correct.
mine got a ticket.
So, Michael, if we have success with item number 3 here, can you perhaps work with New Hanover County Sheriff and teach people from the bridge to Monkey Junction to move into the right lane when they're driving slower?
I would love to say yes, but I will try my darndest. Yes, sir.
Slower vehicles to the right.
Yes, sir.
Right.
Number 4 in this grouping deals with many of the safety features that we would like to see on a golf cart. On carts, they must be equipped with headlights, taillights, and turn signal lamps. Number 5 is one that we've had in place for a while, but we've tweaked just slightly, which is carts must be equipped with at least one operational mirror. Our tweak is that it has to be a fixed mirror. Quite often what we've seen is that they are household mirrors that are stuck somewhere instead of a fixed mirror that you would see on some of the other more stable golf carts and low-speed vehicles. So what we're looking for is a fixed operational mirror to allow the driver to see behind them. Currently, our regulations state that there is no standing on golf carts while they're operating, and that the amount of people on a golf cart should be appropriate to the number that they carry. This is one that we had quite a bit of conversation about, and what we basically determined was if we were going to require seat belts, that the fact that every person in the vehicle had to have a seat belt on would help enforce that only so many people could be in the golf cart. So you'll see that come up in just a couple of minutes. We have always required that golf carts be driven by individuals that are 16 years of age or older and possess a valid driver's license or a driver's permit. That also requires that all the particulars of the driving permit have to be followed. So if your driving permit says you have to be with a individual that is 16 years or older and has a permanent license, then that has to apply also for a golf cart. This one we talked about quite a bit, and this deals with alcohol and drugs. We just wanted to make it very specific and list out any person who operates a golf cart on public streets and roads must adhere to all applicable state and local laws, regulations, and ordinances, included but not limited to those banning the possession and use of alcoholic beverages and all other illegal drugs. In addition, no golf cart containing any open container of alcohol shall be operated on public roads. We believe that this should be point blank simple for the motoring public, that alcoholic beverages and slow moving or golf carts, vehicles and golf carts don't mix. It is illegal. Number 9 would be adding the seatbelt requirement for safety. Seatbelts are required for every person on the seated golf cart, and seatbelts must be worn by all passengers, including children. We did have quite a robust conversation about whether or not children should be in child restraint seats. We found conflicting information out in our research about the pros and cons of that, and at this time I don't believe there's any definitive answer on whether or not that is good practice or not. So we left that out of this and just stated that all passengers, including children, must be seat belted in the golf carts. Finally, all the safety equipment must be installed by an NCDOT to NCDOT specs before the golf cart is registered in the town, and that all traffic rules and regulations for the state of North Carolina must be adhered to for golf carts. So basically, with these changes to the 11 items that I just read off to you, we're hoping to see an increase in the safety level, getting at the headlamps, tail lamps, seat belts, turn signals, and the operation of a golf cart and what is appropriate and not appropriate. The next section is really adding in exactly what the state law states about low-speed vehicles. Because our ordinance currently only addresses golf carts, it makes it very confusing on whether or not low-speed vehicles are allowed or not allowed and so forth. So we established a section that basically mirrors the golf cart section, but is specific to the standards that the state has enacted for low-speed vehicles. You'll see as you go through this, things like the 35-mile-an-hour crossing is approved. B in this list, you'll see that the types and number of safety features on a low-speed vehicle are much more stringent, and there's more of them. That you still have to adhere to NCDOT traffic laws and state of North Carolina Department of Transportation to registration and insurance, but it is just at a higher degree. So we're mirroring the state regulations. Right now, we have a permit system. Basically, we're saying in this, the only main difference is that we would add low-speed vehicles as being one of the types of vehicles that would need to get a town permit or registration to operate in the town of Carolina Beach. And then we have the penalty area that we previously had enacted an amendment to several months ago, which basically lists out that this is a civil citation and that those fines would be recovered in a certain manner. So those are generally the types of things that staff has come back with council recommending, and what we're requesting from council is the adoption of ordinance 17-1064, which is the revised golf cart ordinance.
Mike, I have a couple questions.
Certainly.
Is there any instructions on how to fasten the seat belts? I mean, that's, you know, we've got that, if we're gonna specifically say that, then I would hope that we have some kind of instructions that tell them how to mount them.
Well, what we have is in number 10, it states that it has to be mounted as NCDOT specifications. What you don't want to do is try and explain to somebody in a municipal setting what that really means, because you're taking on liability explaining it. NCDOT has specifications for performing those activities on a golf cart. So if they get that from the state and they follow those to the letter, then that's appropriate. If they use a contractor that follows those to the letter, then that's appropriate.
Okay. The next question, you said these are civil violations for the most part, but I'm assuming that any kind of driving under the influence is not a civil.
That's correct.
Criminal, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Michael, just a couple questions. Are you then going to have a checklist when someone comes in and make them check off and sign that they have these things? I know we're not going to go out and inspect it.
That's correct. We won't go out and inspect it, but yes, our application is going to have to change. And the way the application looks now is going to be different. We'll have what types of safety features they have on there, and that yes, they will have a statement that they have to sign.
And what will be the time period where we start this January 1? When are we going to expect everybody to have this done by?
Okay. We had talked about that a little bit last time. I had put in some aspect of a grandfather clause or a slow evolution into the regulations. In this case, since all we're really doing is changing the requirements for the safety features, it's up to that individual that if they want to register their vehicle in the town of Carolina Beach, that they go and have those things before they register. So for instance, does that mean January 1? If they want to get their registration to drive it in the town of Carolina Beach January 1, yes ma'am.
And that's when the old ones expire?
That's when the
Okay.
old ones expire, yes.
Michael, I'm fine with all those things. I want to clarify for the public, especially and us as well, maybe the police department, children that are 2 years and younger. In aircraft, or you're traveling in a plane, you're 2 years and younger, don't have to be in a seatbelt. The parent can hold them. I don't think, I doubt you could put a 1-year-old in a seatbelt on a golf cart and it'd be safe or effective. So if we're not having some standard for that, then I'm just curious how the police department's going to deal with that.
Honestly,
Is that we urging people just not to have young children that young on the golf cart?
most likely it'll be up to the discretion of the officer. Partly that is what we give that officer to do, is to look at a situation, say it is safe or it's unsafe. If, for instance, the child is on the lap of the parent and both are belted, that may not be something that a officer stops somebody for, but they could go and stop them to educate them on how to do it more safely.
Well,
I'm a little reticent on.
That also causes me a concern, because the whole threshold for that is 2 years old for the federal government. And if you have a 5-year-old sitting on your lap in the same seatbelt as you, then you're violating the very rules we're putting in place. So,
And that's part of the difficulty with trying to enact a rule in that regard, is because there aren't specific standards for golf carts and low-speed vehicles, either federally or by the state, for what age child should be in a restraint and which one shouldn't.
There are rules dictating what safety mechanism children have to be restrained with versus,
Right.
children of a certain height or weight have to be in a booster seat up to a certain point. I think that that would keep children from being able to ride in their parents' laps. It would keep children from being able to pile on the back. But it would make it very clear for an officer that if he sees someone without a seatbelt on, then that they are not in compliance with the town's
So it would be their option to see if they can have a child seat in a seatbelt that's safe? Is that what we're saying?
I think what I would say is, children, perhaps we should change that sentence, and I'll take the blame for this one, Michael. Change that sentence to say that children who are passengers must be restrained in accordance with North Carolina law.
Well, I think that's what we talked about at the last meeting.
I think so too. I think we just missed it.
Okay. That's good.
And answer one other thing for me too. If a police officer stops a person and there's some kind of activity going on in the golf cart with a child that is certainly unsafe, is that officer allowed to find child endangerment as a issue, and can we proceed with that?
Sure. I mean, I think that, I'd say sure, I should say most likely. The officers who stop someone from speeding on a highway, who notice a child in the back seat, if they think the speed is excessive, they can charge a parent with child endangerment. So I think our officers would still have the same opportunity if necessary.
I think that's certainly my main concern, is not the people, the grown-ups riding in the cart. I mean, I actually think that seatbelts in an automobile should be your choice, good or bad. I mean, you're old enough to make that decision, but for a child, they're not old enough to make that decision. And I think that, I hope we'll pursue that if that's the case.
Other comments?
We
All
did
right.
set this up for a public hearing, so the public could state their opinions. If you'd
Yep.
like to open up the
We're
public
going to
hearing.
open it up. Well, hold on, ma'am.
Ma'am, hold on just a second, please.
So I'm going to open this for public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak on the issue, please come up and state your name and address.
Ethel Kagan, 704 South Fifth Street. I just want to make one comment from a safety perspective. When you talk about a seatbelt and a baby or a child, when you're talking about the airplane, I don't think it's a very good analogy because it's only for takeoff and landing, the rule. When you talk about
It's
a
for
child
duration
in
of
a
the whole
car,
flight. But I
when
didn't
you
mean
talk
it, I
about a
didn't mean it as an analogy. I meant to say that,
Right, but
what
I'm
are
s-
we going to do?
Right, exactly. But I'm going to say that you don't want to put a seatbelt on a baby. That's actually quite dangerous, because if you look at where it would come, if there was an accident, the child would actually be choked to death. So I think that you have to be very cautious when you say, oh, good, we're going to seatbelt in children. If you want to talk about in a car, my child who is 40 pounds and of a certain height has to be in a booster, and my baby has to be in a child restraint seat. So giving this very nebulous statement about seat belting children in, I think is dangerous. As far as the police department, I think you're being unfair to the officers and you're putting them in a very bad position. You're giving very unclear direction to the police officer, and I think what's going to happen is you're going to have police officers who are going to interpret this in different ways, and I think it's going to lead to conflict in the streets.
So if you heard what we just said, ma'am, what we said was they have to meet state standards.
Right, I
Period.
know, but I'm just saying that.
Well, that's very clear. They have to meet
All right.
state standards. I mean, that's why we're trying to take that question out of there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and council members. My name is Kevin Kessler. I'm a resident of Hamlet Avenue at 317. Love this town. My wife gets tired of me telling her how much I love this town. Love everything about it, all right? And I love the fact that you're taking the time to hear public comment about golf carts. I've been to most of the golf cart meetings, except those when I was required to be out of town. My daytime job, I'm a mechanical engineer for the U.S. Department of Transportation. I've been 40 years in my career have been dedicated to safety and research for transportation. I know a little bit about statistics, and a little bit about decision-making with regard to safety. And one of the challenges is trying to balance the right of the public to mobility against the need for safety enhancement. And so that's why I'm concerned about this particular issue, because I think this town is really unique. Many of the reasons we love it is because it's got so many interesting things going on here. Things like the beach, things like the fireworks, things like the boats, the boating, the carnival, all of these things. All of them are dangerous. And so if we want to live in a world without risk, close them all down. Because actually, the harm to the public and the beach is much worse, from undertow and other causes, much worse than what has happened to golf carts. According to your own statistics, there were 10 accidents in the 600 golf carts in town, 10 accidents in the last 5 years.
815 or 20.
Oh, wow, we're up again. Thank you, sir. Any case, so looking at the statistics, I think we're responding emotionally rather than rationally to factual evidence about the real risk that we're trying to deal with here. I think there are problems. The problems are mostly to do with people that are overcrowding the golf carts, kids operating the golf carts when they shouldn't be, and people disobeying the traffic laws, the fundamental traffic laws. Those are the risks. All of the things that are proposed, the only thing that actually helps safety are mirrors, seat belts, turn signals, and lighting. Everything else is not going to help much. In fact, I should tell you that the Institute of Highway Safety, from the Insurance Institute of Highway Safety, has actually come out against low-speed vehicles. They said there's a public misconception that low-speed vehicles are any safer than a bicycle or a golf cart. And they actually have done crash tests where they ran cars into low-speed vehicles and demonstrated that you have no protection on low-speed vehicles. So if council believes or staff believes that by allowing low-speed vehicles and not allowing golf carts that you're going to have another measure of safety, I think there's a mistake. Now, in earlier versions of the text, I actually saw that there was a plan to eliminate golf carts altogether by 2020. I don't see that today, so I assume that's been dropped from consideration. The only other comment I have is that two things. It turns out that it's quite expensive to install seat belts unless you do it yourself on a golf cart, and I think that requiring that to be done before you can register a golf cart on January 1 is probably not enough time. We're talking about somewhere around $250 to $400 a piece. We got 800 now golf carts. We're talking about a very sizable expenditure for this community. Maybe good for the golf cart maintenance folks in town, but not so good for the citizenry. Perhaps if we could allow a little more time for them to comply, then you might, actually have some benefit to the citizens. And remembering that the risk that we're trying to reduce is not all that great in the first place. The last thing, and it didn't come up at today's hearing, but there's been a lot of discussion about parking. I was astounded when I learned that there were at the time 600, now 800 golf carts in town and 3 golf cart parking places. Parking is always a problem here during the summer. All of you know that. Everybody knows that. And in fact, if the council actually wanted to encourage a more efficient use of our parking space, that there are many places you could put more than one golf cart in a parking space and then essentially provide more access to the amusements and the beach and the boardwalk. So I think there are a number of issues to be considered here. I think it's excellent that the staff and the council is taking such a serious view of this. But I worry that I feel a little bit of pressure. I don't know where it's coming from, that we need a rush to judgment here. There's no imminent hazard right now. And we're not alone in this. 350 communities nationwide allow golf carts on their streets. It's not like we're the Lone Ranger. So I only ask that council and staff take the time, step back, look at the data, decide what the risks really are, what the right kind of investment necessary from our citizens to continue to manage that risk in an effective manner, and then phase it in a reasonable manner, reasonable time frame, so that people can comply. So thank you for the opportunity to speak today, Mr. Mayor and Councilman.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak? Yes, sir.
Good evening. evening. My name's Harry Papazian. I live at 500 Jarrett Bay Drive. And one, I just wanted to ask if anything was came up about the traffic study for North Lake Park Boulevard about the speed limit, because we're effectively can't use our
Yeah,
cars.
we haven't gotten with that yet. That's something we have to get with NCDOT, so it's going to be a byproduct of this. And it's probably not going to happen in a month. It's probably
Yeah,
gonna
yeah, I
be
realize
a little
it would
more
take some
discussion than
time.
that, but.
But that's
Have
still
you
on the
had any discussions trying to set anything up, Michael?
The last thing I heard was we are 3 weeks into a 6-week process.
Okay.
So we're hoping that in the next month, we will have some answers from NCDOT and then be able to bring something to council.
All right, yeah, because I just, our card and several people where we live there, everybody has insurance, I have plates, it's street legal, and I basically can't use it, so.
I hear you.
And, I mean, I understand too, it's a larger problem. I think, just wanted to add, one of the things that makes it unique here is you can use a cart or a low-speed vehicle, and I think you need safety, but I think you're focusing on the carts too much. I mean, I see a lot of bad drivers here, more than the carts. I mean, that's just my opinion, but I just think it's one of the things that makes it unique here. People come here to use a cart if you're on vacation, and I just, I know you need safety, but I think you're really focusing kind of on a small thing when there's a lot bigger things. But thanks for giving
Thanks a
me
lot.
the time to speak. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak?
Mayor, Council, I'm Dean Ember. I'm owner of Sun Fun Rentals, and I'm prepared a package for y'all to kind of look at.
Thank you for that.
I appreciate that. It was
Yeah,
very
I
helpful.
kind of want to give some information, because of the growth of carts and us doing rentals, we've had to make changes.
Right.
So we've had to put a road map in to tell people when tourists, and I don't know if y'all deal with tourists, but you can talk 5
Never.
times and they go down Dale Road. But
Yeah.
that's just how it is, but we're trying to improve it. Chief come see me and told me about what he was talking to some of the people and saying, well, Dean said you can ride anywhere you want on the island.
That was early on, I think.
And we
when you first
basically,
opened.
have the rules that we've done, and I prepared that for you, and we tell everyone, the tourists, what we've just
You
went over.
certainly answered my question about that.
Yeah, and we used to make them sign the contract and read 20 things. Now we're making them initial every one of them because it's become a problem for us.
It's pretty
become a
extensive.
problem for the police department. They're breaking all the laws, so we're doing what we can to prevent that. And like I say, we put a road map out for them where they can do it, and then we give y'all a copy of the expensive of these street legal carts. And since I give y'all that proposal, my research, you can buy strapless seat belts for $54. Okay, we've got 20 of them in stock now, but then your seat belts.
Is that per belt?
That's for a whole golf cart.
For
Yeah.
$54
2 front, 2 back.
plus some installation, right?
Yeah, which can be done, but then we showed the DOT certified ones that are $129, installed $179. So my thing is, we're benefit from it just from the last couple months, but everybody coming in buying from us at this point now are going straight legal because they feel like in the future it's going to be changed. And when we started here, there were probably 200 or 300 golf carts. In 4 years, it's gone to 800 golf carts. What's it going to be 4 years from now? Okay? And then I heard said that council meeting, a couple of guys, what's the difference if you get in an accident and you get in a wreck and somebody gets hurt? Well, my thing is when you put turn signals, seat belts in a golf cart and a horn to let somebody know you're pulling out or something, you're going to prevent that accident from happening. That's my opinion. All of our carts are street legal. We've done 1,700 and some rentals. In the last 4 years, we've had 4 or 5 little incidents and only 1 incident with the police department. And I talked to Michael about it and come to find out they were warned 3 times because they had an underage driver. They towed the cart, give them a ticket for it, and they should have. So what we're doing is we're putting the contract on the carts. They have them on their possession. They know where they can go, what they can do, and what they can't do. And during tourist time, renting as many as we are, they have to abide by the laws. And one other thing is the drinking part of it. They come into us New Year's, we could rent 15, 20 carts when people want to go bar hopping. For our insurance purposes, we tell them no. We don't want to rent a cart. We know they're going to tear it up, and we know they're going to break the law and get a ticket, and we got to get our cart out of tow. So, we're trying to do what we can to make it safer. Whatever decision y'all make, it really, is up to y'all about street legal or not street legal, but the last thing is, in defense of the street legal or the regular golf carts on Carolina Beach, well, if y'all know, there's probably 150 golf carts that are gas golf carts by law that cannot be street legal, okay? I thought it was 100. I've researched it. It's over 150. By state law, you cannot street legal that cart. You can put seat belts and brake lights on it. I feel like those people that are citizens of Carolina Beach should be grandfathered in to be able to keep that many gas golf carts on this island. It's a lot to think about. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't think, we're not making them street legal. We're just asking to put some additional safety devices, so it should not affect those gas golf carts.
That's good. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak? Okay, no one wishing to speak on this item. I'll close the public hearing. We can have some discussion. We've had some discussion on this before. I think a number of you have been here for it. I appreciate Mr. Kessler's presentation, comments about safety, and I agree. There's a whole bunch of things on this island that we do are probably much less safe than driving golf carts. And even vehicles don't follow all the rules. Children, young, underage people driving, people driving without seat belts, people reckless driving, people driving without licenses, and we don't catch them all, but, they get caught eventually, generally, and the same applies for golf carts.
Dan, let me say just one thing too. This isn't something we've just picked up this year and started discussing. We've been talking about this for 4 years.
Yeah, that was kind of the point I was working towards. I agree, Gary. That we're not rushing to anything here.
That's right.
We've had a lot of deliberation about this, and we've really tried to identify what the problem was. And the biggest problem was that for our golf carts, there was not enough teeth in our ordinance for our police department to actually enforce anything. And the two biggest issues we had were overloading golf carts and the safety factor. And when you put seatbelts on and you require everyone on the golf cart to have seatbelts, and you can only have as many people as a seatbelt, you've solved the overloading problem, and you've also solved the safety problem. So I think the lights, I could have gone either way on the lights. If you're going to drive them at night, you need lights. And I think somebody recently convinced me that even during the day, the lights are helpful, and I think they are, turn signals and such. So it's not perfect, but, I think it's better. Anybody else?
Real quick, Mayor, just my suggestion for the comment earlier, except for a proposed change to 171064 would be that 9 be revised if you were to adopt this ordinance tonight, that 9 be revised to include the following language. Seat belts are required for every occupant on the golf cart, including child safety restraints as required by the state of North Carolina. So if the state requires it, then the town would also require it.
Oh, we got a comment from the DOT.
Yes, sir.
Lance Bradner, 1411 Mount
Lance.
Lane. And I don't have any kids, but I do have some nieces and nephews. And just one of the comments there, if you go by North Carolina law, it also says you have to be in the back seat. And I don't think that a seat child restraint is going to fit there. So I think you're going to run into a lot of issues. I've got an extended one, so it won't fit in the back seat or it's going to fall off. So I don't know that following that to the law is going to be a good
It
solution.
wouldn't apply to golf carts because golf carts don't have airbags.
Okay, so, but if you follow the North Carolina rule, like you said, it would still say it's in the back seat. So, yeah, I'm just saying, I don't know that just following that, and it also would require somebody up to 40 pounds and 5 years old to be in a child restraint. So if you try to put a 5-year-old in a car seat, in a golf cart, does not seem to be a safe. I'm not
Yeah, I'm not.
highway I'm just saying, just a
I agree.
personal
I'm not
opinion.
comfortable with.
I don't know that that's gonna be safe. I don't know that I'd want to put my niece and nephew in.
Yeah.
I think that's.
I'm not
Well,
either.
it's
So-
not a requirement. You don't have to put them in there, and I think that.
Yeah, my recommendation is if you're gonna require that children, if you want the language in there about children being belted, that it needs to be in accordance with North Carolina law. It's a parent's decision and a driver of a golf cart's decision whether or not they think a golf cart is a safe vehicle for their child to be on, with or without a seatbelt.
Right, and at that point, if you don't agree, then don't take them, and if you do and they get hurt, is that child endangerment? I mean,
I'm not sure we can create specific standards for every golf cart for a child.
I think the main thing we were getting at is, I think we've all seen a person driving a golf cart with a child sitting in the person's lap that's driving the vehicle. And to me, that's probably an unsafe issue, and just not using good common sense to start with. But, I mean, and that's what we're trying to protect is the kid as much as anybody else.
And I agree completely. I mean, I'm here, I want to be safe with my niece and nephew. I don't want to put Chief Spivey and his guys on the thing where they see, and they have to make you say an interpretation on, well, we see a 5-year-old, is that a 5-year-old, does they need to be in a child restraint or not? And
You
what
know,
is actually safe.
Yeah, I mean,
Like a lot of things with our town, like somebody said that, you know, their trash can was blowing down the street. You know, we have some personal responsibility in this town when there's a storm coming to secure our trash cans so the trash doesn't go all over the place and wait for the town to pick it up. I feel the same way with this kind of stuff. You know, as parents, we have personal responsibility to make sure that we do what's right for our children. And there's a bunch of state laws that I wouldn't agree were safe for my child. So I don't have to do that. So I don't have to put him in a golf cart if I feel that it's unsafe. So I wish we had something that was, you know, comprehensive, but I think the state laws are as best we can do right now.
And I understand it, and I'm not saying that, I think that it's less safe to put a 5-year-old in a car seat strapped in a golf cart than it is to put a 5-year-old in a seatbelt in a golf cart. I think that is a safer situation. That's what I am totally about safe. I just think that if you follow what was just stated to the law, that is making it a more unsafe situation for a kid.
Yeah, and I agree, and I would.
Thank you.
Why can we not just say seat belts for each occupant and let the parent decide? If I've got my 2-year-old grandson in the front seat with me, I'm gonna feel more comfortable if he's just in the seat belt and I've got my arm around him.
You can say seat belts are required for all occupants on the golf cart, period. That
Period.
leaves no
And
room
let
for
the parent
interpretation
make
for the
that
police
decision.
department. But it does put the police department in a situation where the baby is in the lap and they said, oh, I didn't know that they needed to be, because it's a baby, or she's a child, she can't wear a seat.
What can you say, each person still have, each individual in the cart should have their own safety belt, seat belt, so that there's no equivocation?
I think that the concern about that is then because you've got a mandate that the child who's 4-year-old be strapped in, and perhaps that's not a safe way of restraining the child in the golf cart. You could put an age restriction on the golf cart. I mean, you could do lots of things. Or
Well,
you could just,
if a person has a child in their lap, to me, that's a dangerous situation if they have a seatbelt on. I mean, you know, they get as much pressure from behind with the person that the person that the child's in the lap. I mean, that makes it dangerous right there. So I think you would have to have them in their own individual seatbelt or restraint of some kind.
Well,
Public
and
hearing's
I-
closed, but if you'll give us some discussion, I'll open back up in just a second.
My concern is, yeah, if it was in a vehicle that could go down the road at some considerable speed, I think your argument is very valid. But if you're in a golf cart that can't go but 15 miles per hour,
Well, let's just put it this way.
I don't think that that's something we need to try to regulate, allow
If
that person to
two
do it.
converging cars come together at 35 miles an hour, that's 70 miles an hour.
Right.
Just like you hitting a wall. So
I
you need to
understand.
take that into, consideration. And it's apparent to me, seeing the amount of children that are sitting in people's laps with no restraints. I mean, I don't feel comfortable sitting here doing nothing.
Well, I don't think I'm gonna do fare too well if I'm even in mine doing 25 and somebody hits me at doing 20, and at 50 mile per hour, even if
Absolutely.
I have the seatbelt in, I'm gonna crack my skull on that steering wheel.
Well, how are they addressing it, in,
So-
say, for instance, Curry Beach, where it's all street legal? Do they address children in those other
well,
communities?
those are aren't they lesbian? Yeah, they're
That's
lesbian
by
vehicles,
state
so
law.
they're regulated by state law.
So it's what you
also.
said earlier.
Yes,
Okay.
But the
Well, wait, let's
other
dwell on that for a
municipalities-
second. Dwell on that for a second, whether it's a low speed or a golf cart, what is the state regulation for a child restraint system in a low speed vehicle? Do they have to have a car seat?
They
Do
have to have
fit-
safety equipment, installed just like an automobile.
So is that a rear facing car seat?
Rear-facing car seats, I'm not a parent.
I'm not-
God,
It's
don't-
been a long
I
time
hate-
since
I
might have
hate-
been a car
I
seat.
hate car seats, but some of those things are dictated by whether or not you have airbags and whether or not there is a position in the car that is available. There are always recommended courses, but if you actually look at the statute, there are different scenarios afforded for folks that don't have a car that has a seat that is in the rear, a two-seater. So, I mean, those are choices that people make when they purchase their vehicles. The town doesn't need to deviate from state law. The town is deviating, or is not deviating, but the town is adding additional requirements to golf carts. These are not low-speed vehicles. This would be the golf carts.
Right.
So, what is the will of council? What do you want to address?
So the question is, if it's good enough for a low-speed vehicle, if that's what's required for a low-speed vehicle, why would it be any different for the golf cart? I mean,
Well, we're not meeting all the safety requirements.
I understand
of
that,
a-
but those requirements would be the same.
Yes, I think they would be. I think the question is, can you attack this from a different way and say each occupant in the vehicle must be seated in the golf cart?
Must be what?
Must be seated in the golf cart?
Seated?
Seated.
Without, with or without a seatbelt?
With or without, I mean, they have to be seated with a seatbelt. But then you're gonna have the question of the 3-year-old that's belted in who may or may not need to be
Well,
in
we
a
would like
child
to think
restraint.
that parents wouldn't put their kids in, harm's way, but that's not always gonna be the case.
And that's
We-
why
I
I
know
would
we
recommend.
My concern
doing it
is,
as required by North
if we
Carolina law.
deviate from that sentence that you're saying, what liability does that open us up for as a town? And a police officer to say he doesn't give them a ticket, and they say, well, he let us go, and then something happens.
I think there would be a number of contributing factors there that would lessen liability, but I think that the town should adopt an ordinance that's easy for the police officers to enforce, and, so, in accordance with North Carolina law.
Well, let us chew on that for a minute while I open the public hearing. We'll hear from some more folks.
I just wanted to say that.
Can I get your name and
My name
address?
is Jana Cadenas. I live at 1601 Birchcombe Drive, with my illegal golf cart over there.
Oh, we know where you
I just
are.
want to say that, yeah, I can't, I
illegal
don't
now.
go anywhere at all on it. That the seatbelts on golf carts are only lap bands, are only lap belts. Those are not designed to hold car seats for infants or small children. So that would also be a safety concern that I would have a problem with.
And as they are on low-speed vehicles. So.
That's correct, yes.
I guess what we're trying to chew on here a little bit is why should we have different standards in low-speed vehicles that are already state-controlled and run 10 miles an hour faster than golf carts?
Right. I have a problem with, not being able, like a parent not being able to take their baby somewhere on their golf cart because they can't be in a car seat because there's no way you can shove a car seat to a golf cart legally or safely. But I don't see a problem with a mom sitting there with her baby strapped to her with her own seatbelt on.
Well, you know what I learned when I was 16 years old and got my license? They said, this is not a right, it's a privilege.
That's
So
correct.
you don't have a right to take your child on a golf cart. If you feel that it's unsafe, you shouldn't. If I had a one-year-old,
I'm
I probably
saying
wouldn't
that
take my
from-
one-year-old on a golf cart, but.
I don't see it as a safe, how it would be a safety issue if a mother had her seatbelt on and had her baby strapped to her, is what I'm saying. I'm saying that I think that would be safer than saying that
We don't have the
that a car
ability to
seat would be
create those
required, is what I'm
standards, so
saying.
I think is our problem is we don't have the ability to create those standards.
In your situation, the lap belt is
I don't
on
disagree
you,
with
but
you.
not the kid.
Right.
And so,
Well, I don't have a baby. I know.
well, I mean, but
know
you've
people who
seen,
do-
yeah, people have
who-
done
Who
that.
have them.
My
and
daughter
they
has
strap
done
their
that with her
baby, Their
kids.
little thing on, and
Right.
they ride on the golf cart with it.
Right.
And I'm just saying that for the sake of wanting the car seats will not work on golf carts, is what I'm saying. The seatbelts for golf carts are not designed to hold car seats.
So not to put you on the spot, Chief, but I will in a minute.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Anyone else wishing to speak?
Thank you. Ashley Hunter, 221 Teakwood Drive. I was actually just going to also mention that a lot of car seats require the additional tether strap, which is not what golf carts
It's
and
not there.
low-speed vehicles would be equipped with. So that was number one. It's not really safe to put them in the car seat. I had a couple of questions, though, really just regards to injuries on golf carts. How many injuries have we had? How many people have been thrown from a golf cart? And why exactly the seatbelt issue? Because I think one of the things that I heard was to, it's a means to ensure that the maximum capacity of a golf cart or low-speed vehicle is not exceeded. But if we just use common sense and we see somebody that has 6 or 7 people on a 4-person cart,
If it's
they
not.
get pulled over and they
if
get a
it's not-
ticket.
If it's not in the ordinance, the police officer can't enforce it. That's why
Well,
this
no.
action is being taken.
Understood. So my thing is, the maximum capacity, obviously, that's an issue. We don't want carts overloaded, so.
And seatbelts are a way that we can actually ensure getting that.
Well,
That-
but all golf carts.
there's a maximum capacity on them, though. So if we say it's a 4-seater and you have 5 people on it, you've exceeded the capacity.
I don't know that any golf cart states on the side of it this is a 4-seater golf cart.
Okay, so if I have one and I can just put as many seatbelts on it as I want to and say it's okay, I mean, that's where
Just
we're
as long as
that's where we're
everybody
getting
in
to.
the cart is in a seatbelt.
Yeah, and I just wanted to acknowledge the town attorney's suggestion about the seated. I thought that was a really good idea. As long as everybody can be seated, they're not standing and not creating additional
Here's
risk
the
for
problem with
injury.
all these kinds of issues. It's never going to be perfect, folks. We're doing the best we can to solve the couple of issues that are the biggest problem. And one of those is just general safety, and seatbelts in all vehicles makes sense. And give the police department the ability to enforce some other regulations like overloading of golf carts. We're not trying to fix the world. We're not trying to make golf carts perfect. They're not perfect, not like anything else. So, we're trying to take some baby steps here that are going to solve the biggest part of the problem for us. And my question to the chief is, if we went with the language that said we're going to follow state regulations here, would your officers, when they stop someone and someone has an infant, the mother or father is strapped in and they have some type of a real child restraint where the child is strapped to them, is that somewhere where the officers could use their discretion?
I'm not sure officer discretion would play in that particular scenario. We're directed that there's commercially made seats that children are safe in. When you couple that apples with oranges, because the golf cart is not like a traditional motor vehicle, it's a little hard for an officer to weigh that out. I'm not sure I'd want to put an officer in that predicament, though, whether he thinks or she thinks that may be safe or not safe. That's why they have child safety restraint seats. I think Mr. Kessler, I think he's left, but I think he made some really good points. During these discussions, I don't want anybody watching at home or here that have golf carts to think that we're anti-golf cart. That's not it at all. I have no problem with golf carts. But in almost 20 years, we've got a few hundred years of law enforcement experience just 60 feet on the other side of the building. We respond to traffic collisions, not accidents, they're collisions, and they're marked with violence and injuries, sometimes fatalities. And I can tell you that even today, I don't spend as much time as doing a patrol car. I'm stuck behind a computer most of the day. When I ride around, I look for unsafe things because of all the responses we've been to for traffic collisions. And when you do see golf carts or low-speed vehicles, that's one of the first things that comes into your mind. That doesn't bother me necessarily the speed of a golf cart, because I almost never think of a golf cart colliding with a telephone pole or another golf cart. I always think of a few thousand-pound vehicle that's going 20, 30, 40 miles an hour, moving with a golf cart that's basically standing still, and then your imagination wanders. And I think that's where the emotional component that Mr. Kessler mentioned. So I don't want to sound like it's a knee-jerk reaction, but the police department is completely concerned with safety, and that's it. We don't want to respond to an accident where there's loss of limb or life. And that's why we're all here.
Appreciate that. And I guess I keep coming back to the same place as why we would have a different standard than the state low-speed vehicles if,
Well, and I'm concerned,
I got to close the
Yeah,
public
go-
hearing, folks. One more quick comment from each
Yeah,
of you,
go ahead.
please. Come on up.
You keep mentioning, Kerry State and I, 221 Teakwood. You keep mentioning that you want to go back to the state standard, but we're talking about a golf cart, not a low-speed vehicle. And you say, well, it's only 10 miles an hour. 10 miles an hour on a 20-mile-an-hour vehicle is double the speed. Golf carts aren't, they're, I don't
It's
even know.
it's not how fast they go.
Bicycles go faster.
If you get hit by a car moving 40 miles an hour, it's the same in a low-speed vehicle or a golf cart, and that's the concern.
Who's the problem with then? Is it the problem with the driver of the car, or the driver of the golf cart? I mean, are we trying to say that golf cart people are crazy drivers? Or is there a time when a car hits a golf cart?
We're trying to create reasonable standards that will never be perfect, and that's what we're trying to
I
do.
understand that, and when you say that, that makes me think, why are we doing anything?
Excuse me?
Because when you say things like that, that makes me think, why are we doing anything? Because as soon as you insinuate yourself into this situation, now you're taking ownership of it. And you don't know for sure if what you're doing is the right thing. It may end up being the wrong thing. But you put your name on it, and you've assumed liability for it too.
I would take the responsibility to put my name to say that seatbelts are safer in a golf cart than not. Yeah, I have no problem taking responsibility for that. But,
We kind
yeah.
of figured that when we got here, but I understand that. But I also want you to understand, not everybody thinks like that.
That's-
A lot of
that's
people
fine.
want their
You
personal
don't have to.
responsibility for what they
You
own.
do not have to, I'm not want to argue with you. I appreciate the
I'm not
public
arguing
comment,
either.
but
I'm a little
my
excited.
point keeps going back to, you don't have to drive a golf cart. You don't have to. It's an option we have here. If you want to drive it,
And
yeah,
it's a
that's fine.
great
We just want you to
option.
be a little safer.
It's one of the reasons we came here. We bought a golf cart a day after we moved here.
Mhm.
Because we could, for one thing, regulations, we followed all the rules, we did what we were supposed to do, and now we see this the government creep into what we're doing. Next thing you
So
know,
is that the government creep that you're concerned with, asking you to put seatbelts on your golf cart?
yes, absolutely. Because they'll start with that, they'll go to something else, next thing you know, it'll be Curry Beach, next thing you know, it'll be low-speed vehicles.
Well, we kind of had
no
that
golf
discussion.
carts.
We had that discussion a couple meetings ago, where we, originally, when we started talking about this, we thought maybe we should just do away and have a time sunset, just get everyone into low-speed vehicles. And I think the council came back and as a group said, we really don't want to do that. We don't want to grandfather people in and have them expire. We're quite comfortable with people having golf carts and others that choose to have low-speed vehicles. What we have said is if you have a golf cart, you're driving at night, you ought to have a headlight. We think you ought to have a mirror.
Common sense.
And we think it's probably a good idea to have seatbelts. Now, where we're struggling is what do we do with kids in golf carts? And I'm not sure we have an answer to that yet.
That's why I'm saying.
Yeah,
the
I'm not
seat-
sure we have an answer to that yet, because I understand, you know, the car seats, rear facing, forward facing, in the seat, in a harness, how you do that. But, you know, I'm as much against government creep as anyone else, but I got a hard time swallowing telling you to put seatbelts in your golf cart. Don't put them on there and take the chance to get a ticket or don't, but I'm pretty comfortable telling you it's probably not a bad idea to have a seatbelt in your golf cart.
When you tell me I could get a ticket from doing it, you've made up my mind.
Apparently
You
not
know,
for- no, I get it,
that's
but-
not giving me any personal responsibility.
Well,
I got
we have a lot of people, we have a lot of people that right now do drive around with 6, 8, 10 people in a golf cart and have underage kids driving them, and.
I don't think you'd
that's
have a
their
problem
choice.
writing them a ticket.
We do have a problem. We don't have ability to do it at this point in time. I gotta move on here, but I appreciate your comments. Thank you.
the
Thank
lady
you.
in the red.
Yes, ma'am. I gotta do this quickly so we can close the public hearing.
Mayor, council, how are you tonight?
Good, how are
I'm
you?
Cindy Dunn, 915 Tidewater Lane. I've been communicating back and forth with Tom.
Thank you.
I just have one quick thing. we're grandparents. We have 7 grandchildren, aged 10 to 4. I put them on my golf cart. Seat belts, I'm all for the seat belts. Car seats are a whole different critter. I think we're opening up a whole nother realm of concern because the car seats are not gonna fit on these golf carts properly. You're not gonna be able to position them properly. And besides, the definition of a low-speed vehicle in your general statutes doesn't even address car seats on the low-speed vehicles that I'm aware of, but
The
I'm
state-
not law enforcement, so
The
I
state,
don't know.
the state governs low-speed vehicles, and they require those standards.
They require seat belts. They don't
And they
require
child restraint. They
seats,
require the
right.
same thing that's in a motor vehicle.
Under the low-speed, not under the low-speed vehicle definition that I've read. Now, I could be wrong.
Our definition doesn't cover everything that the states does. It just says you need to follow the state
Right, now,
guidelines.
my reason for speaking is, I think the car seats are a bad idea. A seatbelt per occupant is a great idea. My golf cart says it's built for 4 occupants. That's all I can tell you. It's printed on the front of the golf cart. Thank you very
Thank you, ma'am.
much, and good luck.
Thank you. I close the
Thank
public
you.
hearing. And I just want to say this, look, we're not requiring anybody to put a child's seat harness in a golf cart. You don't have to. What we're saying is that those standards already exist with the state, and we have a vehicle that's very similar to a low-speed vehicle as a golf cart, and I don't know a better way, that we have a better solution than what the state already has provided.
Well, and Mayor Gensel, while this public comment period's been going on, I've reviewed the ordinances of at least 3 other municipalities. It's split as to how they address the child seat or child restraint issue. Hearing all the comments from these folks, what the town could do is say seatbelts are required for every person seated on the golf cart, including children. If a parent straps their child into a 3-year-old child into a seatbelt, then that parent is the person that
Assumes responsibility.
would assume responsibility. And the town is not, by adopting this ordinance, we already have recitals in the ordinance that you're adopting that says the town assumes no liability for issuing a permit, and I hope that people are reasonable.
Well, and I think that's a good solution. I think the golf carts issue would, obviously, if you have somebody hit you, if you've got everybody restrained by a seatbelt, it's gonna help to keep them inside the cart and less danger to them. I have a low-speed vehicle because it's a street legal golf cart, and I've never used, the child restraint seats in the golf cart. I haven't. We use seat belts because frankly, I don't think it would be safe to put them in there. It doesn't have a harness. You don't have a lap. You don't have a shoulder harness to restrain that seat. And I just don't think it's a safe thing to do. Not only that, but you're driving down and you're parking your vehicle, your golf cart with a child restraint, and you go down to the beach for a few hours and you come back, what's the likelihood it's still there? I mean, it's only restrained by a lap belt. They pull that off and it's gone.
I have no problem with the town attorney's recommendation. How does the council feel about that?
I'm
Make a
fine with
motion.
that too.
Yeah.
Okay. So with that, you're looking for a motion, right?
Yes, sir.
I'll take a shot at it, but I'm gonna ask for Madam Attorney's help here on the changing of number 9, I guess. Anyhow, I'd like to make a motion that we approve ordinance 17-1064 with the exception of, I guess, item 9.
It's perfect the way it is.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Would you want to read that one more time for us?
It'll be, say seatbelts are required for every person seated on the golf cart. Seatbelts must be worn by all passengers, including children. It's redundant, but it makes it clear that if you put a child on a golf cart, then they need to be seatbelted.
Okay,
I don't think we can do any better than that.
I will amend my motion to say, make a motion to approve ordinance 17-1064.
So I just want to make sure I understand. We're not doing anything that says, if I choose tomorrow to go out and buy a golf cart, I can buy a golf cart, right?
Right.
Okay, doesn't have to be a low-speed vehicle, I can buy a golf cart. Anybody that has a golf cart, gas or electric, they can keep their golf cart. Okay,
But
but
they
before
have-
they get a town pass, they gotta do a few things to it.
Safety
Right.
features that are.
Okay, and I saw the guy from the Sun Fun rental place, was kind enough to put some pricing together, and he said how much it would cost for seat belts and a rear view mirror and some headlights, but we're not asking for everything to make it a street legal vehicle or a low-speed vehicle. We're just saying you gotta put some minimum safety things on it. Go buy a golf cart, keep your golf cart, get a low-speed vehicle, either one. We're not grandfathering them and outlawing them, right? Just wanna make sure I understand that.
Now, I've got a point. They don't have to have all these things added to their golf cart until they register with the town, and there's no deadline for them to do that. They can do that
Anytime during the year.
anytime throughout next year. Can they operate without the town sticker?
I say
Not
no.
legally.
No.
Not legally.
If they operate without the sticker, it is a penalty listed out in our penalty fee schedule.
But if they wanted to wait until March to do it,
They would
can.
not be able to use their golf
Before
cart
then.
until March.
So in
Without
other
running
words,
the
this
risk of
goes
getting
into
a
effect
ticket.
tonight, after we voted in. Is that what you're saying?
When the new permits are issued.
It would
First year.
become effective at the new permit issuance, which starts January 1.
Which are a calendar year.
Right. Yeah.
All right.
And I think to a statement that I made earlier in one of the earlier meetings that we had about this, you can drive your automobiles anytime you want to, and if you wanted to wait to have that done until sometime late in the spring, then that's your decision. But when you come to get them registered, they've got to meet what we're putting in place tonight.
Okay. Call for the question.
Motion on the floor. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Thank you, everyone, for your input.
Thank y'all.
I was nay.
You were nay?
Nay,
4-1?
yeah.
You didn't like it because?
I just don't think we need to put that much restrictions on them starting tomorrow.
That's not tomorrow.
It doesn't start tomorrow.
January
It
1.
starts
January.
January 1.
Well, it's
And the permits
even
are-
then, I still don't think so.
Okay. Just out of curiosity, how long do you think they should have?
I don't know, I just don't know that we need to go as far as we did, but it doesn't matter, it passed anyway.
Well, it's a whole lot less than what we initially talked about. I mean.
Well, we were talking about all those speed vehicles now. Okay, let's move. Next item on the
Consent
agenda, this is backwards, I guess.
Consent agenda number 7.
Consent agenda.
Is the consent
Yeah,
agenda.
motion to approve consent agenda, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You want approval of meeting, the minutes, regular town council minutes?
That's
and-
in the consent
Consent
That's
agenda.
on the
yeah.
consent agenda.
But then it says non-agenda items, which really should be new business, should be next, correct?
Yes.
All right, so new business is committee attendance reports.
And for the public, this is not the mayor, it's a new format we're going by.
Yeah, it's,
We're adjusting.
We are adjusting.
We're adjusting. It's not all him.
Mayor, Council, I've got a report from the Operations Committee that one of their members has not been making the attendance requirements, so it's the clerk's responsibility to notify council anytime we have a committee member who is not meeting the attendance requirements, and then you guys have the option to either vote a member off or to...
Logging's until morale improves.
Let me ask you a question.
I have a question,
Have we notified them more than once, or how many times have we notified this particular individual?
I personally have not, but the
It says he's been
chair-
notified.
Yeah, it
Chair
says
of the committee says they have reached out to him,
Oh.
and it is work conflicts.
Yeah.
He travels internationally quite a bit.
What is the chairman's take on it? Should he be replaced?
I got the feeling from that, but obviously he wasn't gonna, I mean, he knows it's council call, but just.
My
conversation.
concern about these issues is that, while I appreciate somebody that wants to serve, if they miss 6 meetings and they're gonna miss more, what they're doing is they're taking into opportunity that somebody else that wants to be on the
Right.
committee and serve,
I agree.
they're blocking that position, so.
Not only that, sometimes they don't offer a quorum to be
Right,
able to.
exactly. So I would recommend that he be removed and that we extend an invitation to him that when his work schedule changes, we'd like to have him back on that committee or another committee.
I have a couple questions for Kim before we move forward with that. Does every committee report to you their attendance?
No, they do not. They
Okay, so
should, but they
we
don't.
need to look at doing that, because I had the same problem last night with the Police Advisory Committee. We have, and I emailed you about that today, we have a member that hasn't been showing up, and we have an alternate that we want to move in that spot, but now I don't know how many meetings that person has missed. Nobody's taken
They're supposed to be recording,
attendance.
the chair
Should be in the
or the
minutes.
treasurer, the chair or the secretary is supposed to be recording who's in attendance to those meetings, whether they're
And give it
turning
to
them
you.
over or not.
And how many meetings can they miss?
The requirement is 75% per year, or if they miss more than 3 consecutive meetings.
3 consecutive. So would you be able to send out an email to the committees, just telling them that you need their attendance records?
We've asked for this before.
We have.
more than once. Now, these folks want to be chairs on these committees. They need to have maintain this responsibility. They need to get this stuff into you or whoever that designated person is, Hannah or whoever. I would notify them that this is
Let's just
something that
remind
they're
them.
required to do.
We had the exact same conversation last night at my committee meeting, and we didn't know what to do.
Well,
So-
I'm gonna tell you, we, on the Freeman Park Committee, are required by our bylaws, or I guess, for that particular committee, to have certain individuals of the family, and they haven't been showing up for
Right.
quite some time.
Well, I've always said that we should change the structure of that committee to allow them as, I don't know what you might call it, Miss Attorney, some type of a ex officio member that you could have, when they're there, not there, it doesn't upset the quorum. And then when they want to attend, they can attend and participate.
Do they vote
Yes. Right
if
now
they're there?
They do now. Ex officio doesn't, I don't think.
Okay.
But they still have input.
Sure.
Well, let's get that attendance back on track. I think that's a lot of our problem, and, anyway.
Okay,
Okay.
non-agenda.
If you guys are wishing, we do need a motion to remove that member.
Yes.
Okay, I'll make a motion to remove the Operations Committee member based on committee policy, not maintaining committee policy attendance. Motion on the floor, all in favor?
Aye.
But I would like to send him a letter and thank him for his service and ask him, like I said, when his schedule changes, we'd like to have him back. Next item is non-agenda, Michael.
Next item is closed session.
Yeah.
So you don't want to do
Jeez,
non-agenda
Dan.
before closed session? That's what we normally do.
If you'd like to, certainly.
That's what we normally do.
That's fine.
Now, this is a new agenda.
I know
This
it
a whole
is.
new thing. You tell me how you want me to do
Be a
it.
little snappy, just saying.
No, I think the news, the
We wanna go to closed session.
is the last thing, and you're
Yeah.
right on the money with non-agenda items.
Non-agenda was on
We were
H.
supposed to do that before new business, but
Right.
if we're out of order, we're out of
You
order.
just out of order, man.
All right,
Just
so,
Backing up.
since you don't have any non-agenda items, except that, you know, you want to do non-agendas after closed session.
Can we go to closed session?
Anybody else on the left side?
Good, good.
Tom,
That-
over there, yonder?
Just one more shout. We have the meeting tomorrow night, hoping for people to come out to our traffic meeting tomorrow at 6 p.m.
And this is really a big deal because this is our last really major
Yeah,
area
I agree.
that we're going to develop. And if you have questions about traffic congestion or danger or anything else, now's the time to speak.
Now is the
Uh,
time.
Do we have that on our Facebook page?
Yes?
I need to, maybe we
Well, I'm
should
glad-
share it, staff.
And by the way, I just
council
want
should share
to,
it.
I think sending all the business owners and property owners an invitation to that was.
Yeah, I got
very
got
good
those,
news.
so I know they went out. I saw
So,
them several different
Next
ones.
item on the agenda is closed session.
Prefer
And we're
that
going
you-
in for to discuss a real estate matter under NCGS 143.318.11.8A5, PDF.
You actually need to read.
Like, the page in your packet
Oh.
has the property.
You want me to do that?
address.
Page 105.
You don't like change, do you?
Getting formal.
Good thing you don't hunt, Dan.
I know, right?
All right, make
Well, they say
a,
that
make a
all
motion to
about
go into closed session to
That's all
discuss a
about
real estate matter in accordance with NCGS 143-318.11A5. The properties include 3 Carolina Beach Avenue South, owned by Virginia J. Longland for the purposes of park space, and 801 Dow Road, owned by RDJ Properties LLC for the purpose of utility infrastructure.
Of course, there's 4